Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a very quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Melts24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Eric Troche, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Playing Poem, Cannabear, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Hamid, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
So would you?
Go ahead, Humble. Hello, whoever said hello.
Yeah, just trying to get a mic check. Continue. Oh no, this is definitely counterintuitive for me because just the argument that we're dealing with geometry, right?
No, to start
Yes.
with, we're dealing with the physical section you're hanging on to. The tool.
Yeah, but so you would say no, we're not doing geometry when we go through this process at all.
Yeah, we do. We're using geometry, Humble.
Okay.
You use a tool to get geometry, but yeah.
Yes, that's exactly true. Now, to say you have some part of this process that defies geometry, yet we're doing geometry, that's what my brain can't get around. We never said that.
You're getting confused with two different uses of the word geometry. One of them is a colloquial definition of the study of shape, and another is earth measure. So which one are you asking about?
Oh, okay, that's probably what I have to check then, the two different uses. Okay. I really don't know what the problem is. If the stars don't obey our geometry, they don't. I don't understand what the problem is. I really don't. If that's what you're talking about.
They don't know how to use a tool to begin with, Neil. Don't forget that.
Neil, to begin with, the question is what would the difference between, say, the bubble sextant and we're trying to get Humble to be able to form it in his own words so that we can be sure he understands. So the difference between this the marine sextant and the bubble sextant and how they would how the operation would differ. And he's working it out, and we're trying to let him.
Within the last hour, I've typed that question into Google to try and find some approach to it that will help me to understand it. And it's just wrestling with it. That's all. Because I say to myself, okay, if I have a super high tower, right, and there's a star from my perspective to that top, the tip at the same place as the tip of that tower.
The star's location is apparent, so there's a distinction between these two One would be attached to Earth and the other one is not. And
I
one is
get you.
actual and the other one's apparent.
Hold on, one's
You're totally right.
celestial and one's terrestrial.
I understand that. I'm just saying, though, we have 2 points at the same time. One is, like you said, terrestrial, and one is celestial. I get that. I'm just saying now, when I'm standing with something that's forming a triangle, and I'm moving up from my zenith, or up along my zenith, it is to me, something has to change. But again, that's where the problem comes in for me, because those two spots did not change, or I would think they would change as I moved up, right? Because I know I'm getting closer to the top of the tower.
Right.
My angle measurements are changing. We agree that it's changing with regard to the tower, right?
Yeah.
Terrestrially,
Would we
yes.
agree with that? Yes, to the top of that tower. But
So
that star,
celestial,
sorry, go ahead.
no.
But the star what, Lumpy?
Hey Nathan, uh, uh, once we get done with this, I have something that went on at Earth Awakenings, and suggested maybe to bring it up for pre-show dialogue, and then I'll get into that once we're done with Humble.
Okay, but you were going to say, but the star? Yes, the tower. But the star, you were
That
going to
was
say?
Humble. That was Humble. No,
Was
that
it
was
humble?
Humble.
Sorry, Lumpy. Humble. My bad.
Since that's a dead air at the moment, all right, so last night, we were, okay, I'll try and do it the best I can. Remember the best I can. And I'll try and make the point I'm trying to make as I go. So they were talking about films at the ISS, and then I brought up the air pressure issue, and that they claim that it's 10 to the negative 9 torr. And Omnivore, without Matthew Learns present, Matthew had done this, I'd say about a year ago, where he tried to convert exponents but turn it to subtraction. And they also had changed, they were trying to, they didn't want to admit that you would have to convert PSI to torr. And then they tried to obfuscate that point. They tried to change exponents to addition subtraction, which is, well, duh, not right. And then Matthew came in after that had happened, right? So it happened a year ago with Matthew, not acknowledging what an exponent is as a math professor. Then Omnivore did it, and then another guy from Britain who had eggs on his little avatar thing for Discord, he had done it too. And they also tried to change from pressure units as far as and into pascals. Oh my lord! And you've dealt with this a lot. But the thing I'm trying to say is I suspect, and they started stuttering and the voices got softer, and I said, no, you guys are working from a playbook here, because when they went from acknowledging the value placement an exponent would give and change it to a subtraction, they were once I called that out, they started stuttering and getting the voice soft, and I said, yeah, I'm right. And so I think I pretty, the thing that is under consideration is that they're for the show, and it's up to you, Nathan, is to maybe or get what happened last night. If it's available, it would be on Rumble, and I could get the times. What happened, and maybe dissect it some for the show so that people can see that these people are well. The one thing you would have to trust is that it did happen a year ago with Matthew, right? In regard to air pressure, and trying to change exponent math to a subtraction, which is obviously not accurate. But Matthew wasn't there when it happened the next time, and then Matthew came into the show and did it, right? So happened a year ago with Matthew. It happened with Matthew not there. And then it happened again with Matthew coming in. And another thing, they didn't want to convert from, so we could talk apples and apples instead of apples and oranges, which would be PSI to Tor. So every variety of try to get away from the actual argument, every single variety. And then also, even the supposed flat earthers there, and I'm talking like 6, 7 people, we're not calling them on any of it. And then I was the bad guy for saying this is deception. You're trying to deceive people. And then
Lumpy,
Omnivore
can
said,
I ask you
go ahead.
Just let
Can
him
I ask you a
finish. He's
fast
nearly there.
question?
He was like 3 sentences away from rounding out, Neil. Go ahead, Lumpy.
Yeah, I'm good. No, good. You're good. You're good.
Fine. Go ahead, Neil.
Is this about gas pressure?
Yeah, were you listening?
I understand. I understand.
Yes. What
However,
I'm trying to say, can you have
the
gas pressure without containment? Just end the freaking argument.
No, he's not.
Sure.
He's giving you more nuance than that, isn't he? He's saying there's a circumstance where people are listening to the nonsense. No one's calling it out, and when I do, I get called a bad guy for it. What's gives? That's. Am I picking up on the essence of what you're
Welcome
putting
to
down?
Flat
Thank
Earth
you, Neil.
Debate.
Thank you, Neil. Am I picking up on the essence of what you're putting down, Lumpy, or not?
Yeah. And not just that that once I called that this is from a playbook on the anti side, they started stuttering and getting soft in their voice. And then I called that and they tried to stop, but they couldn't. So every time you call out the stuttering, Nathan, you're right. And then you caught it then. And then I started paying attention to that stuttering that happens. And it's what happens when they're being deceptive. And it's like a psychological function, right?
Yeah. Unless you're
Yeah.
a completely empathy-free psychopath, you're going to feel a
Matthew's-
certain amount of tension when you twist the truth. They know they're twisting the truth. When we've been saying it for years, Lumpy, share your pain is a way of expressing what you're trying to describe. The bit that I picked up on is you point out where other, let's call them flat earthers, are failing to address a specific aspect of an argument. And why would you be the bad guy for pointing it out or putting a close to the conversation? Well, because number one, you're putting a close to the conversation. Yeah. And a lot of people in this subject arena don't want that. As weird as it sounds, they want the argument to continue. And if it means inserting nonsense from their own perspective just to keep the argument up, I don't know if it's because they want to. I can't divine their motivation. Let's not even try. But that's the first reason. The second is pride. If you've got there and realise I can cut this argument off at the knees with 3 or 4 sentences, and someone around goes, well, that makes me look bad, doesn't it? You're going to be called a bad guy out of pride. So there's a couple of reasons, in my opinion. Neil might have a different attitude. Neil's attitude, and I agree with him, because I've drilled it into him. Who cares? Do what you do, right? You were there to say that you can't have gas pressure without a container, in essence. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right. You do what you do. If you start comparing yourself to others and how they're not doing it, you drive yourself nuts because no one's doing what is your expectation. Yeah? Or, likewise, if you compare to people who are doing something that is alternative to what you would suggest they do first and foremost, which is, debunk the premise of outer space, then, again, you drive yourself nuts. All you can do is do what you do, and you did it. Now, the fact that you became the bad guy for multiple different reasons at the end of that, that's life, innit? No good deed goes unpunished.
No, that's life when you're involved with a flat Earth debate. They know you're on FED now.
Yeah,
FED bad.
Yeah, we could be so hard done by, right? You just do what you do, and if what you're doing is the key to cutting an argument down at its knees, I assure you, people are lazy. That's why I like to be as lazy as possible. I'm comparing myself to the average Joe. People want an easy route if they actually want to end the argument. That's why the effective arguments do dwell in every arena of flat Earth debate, right?
Right.
Speaking of arena, what do you think about Witzik going on Rogan?
Good for him. Great.
Yeah.
Hope he doesn't babble on about ether too much. He's a good guy. He'll do well.
I hope not. I hope he doesn't. If he sticks to what we can prove, I think he'll do good. But he's not going to do that. He's going to go in there. This is his platform to get that ether out there.
Maybe, and maybe Joe Rogan's the right route to do it. I mean, he does deal with a lot of conspiratorial nonsense, and some of it comes from the mainstream. He deals with aliens and all that sort of stuff. So if Whitsit's plucked out of the ether, no pun intended, to be the flat Earth representative, and you've got the theremin music like I had when I was dealing with Vice, then that's Whitsit's place in this arena. But aside from our speculation, Whitsit knows his stuff. He knows these arguments, doesn't he? He knows you can't have gas pressure without a container, and he can convey those arguments really well. So in that respect, great. Couldn't be more happy. Plus, hopefully it builds some success for Whitsit. He, like I am, he's a family guy. He's trying to build his career in this regard and earn a living from it. So things like this will help him tremendously. So good for him. You can't just focus on the fact that he does things we don't like about. Those are internal things. When it comes to the greater good, if you will, great. I'm elated. Aren't you happy? Obviously not.
Yes, I am. Of course I am. I'm hoping it can only be good for flat Earth. But now what I suggest is get a hold of freaking Eddie Bravo just to tell him, hey, Eddie, whenever you need me, I'm available.
He got hold of me. Right. In the same way as if I wanted a guest, I'd get in touch with them gently at first, introduce myself. Eddie's done that. In terms of being a cordial gentleman, Eddie's done everything perfectly in my direction. Do you know what I mean? So it's like for me to then go, come on, when are you going to interview me? Is in essence what you're suggesting? Is, if nothing else, just rude. He's approached me.
Well, I think
he's
no.
built up a bit of rapport. You can't. There's certain steps when you're just expanding your social circle, be it in a business sense, if this was how you want to view it, because he's like, well, I'm producing a show for my podcast, etc., etc. Now, if that is purely the line in, there are certain rules of engagement that are just polite, and if you do those things, people tend to warm to you. So for that reason, my concerns about whether I would behave well around this person, that's Eddie Bravo, are as a result of him approaching me in the right way. And he has done that and suggested that he'll have me on his show. Now, he may not. And I'd be like, oh, other people have done the same. Bro Sanchez did the same thing initially. Got in touch, did all the right things, made all the right voices to say, you're going to come on my show. I was like, oh, great. And then it just never came to fruition through what seemed to be time zone problems in terms of when he broadcasts. Now, that's one of those things. Is there any hard feelings with Bro Sanchez? No. If the thing with Eddie Bravo never came to fruition, in spite of him, giving me a text and saying I'd like to have you on my show at some point, would it be hard feelings? No, of course not. It's just one of those things. You hope that you reflect the rapport that person's trying to build with you. Me, I've not done a good job at all. Every time he's got in touch, I've gone, who are you? Because I've forgotten or lost my phone or had a different number or haven't had him programmed into my phone or whatever. I'm useless with that with just communication in general. I'm rubbish. So when someone's trying to deal with me, I can understand how people might go, actually, this guy's quite abrasive. I can relate. So from that point of view, Neil, I could just go nagging at him going, I could do with a leg up here. When are you going to interview me? It's just rude.
That's not what I said. Why do you twist my words? He reached out to you. So just a little email. Hey, Eddie, you reached out to me. I'm just going to let you know, whenever you need me, I'm available. If I have to turn my schedule around to be on your show, I would. That's all.
Whatever. I mean, I just if someone did that to me, I'd be like, man, get out of my asshole. That would be my attitude. But there we go.
Me and Brian discussed it, or you could say, Whitsit has been invited to Joe Rogan, and I totally oppose some of his standpoints. And he will look at the fighting side of it and look at it as a competition and say, oh, this is juicy. Because we do oppose him.
I love how you know the inner workings of this man. And how I think and feel based on my...
He's a fighter at heart. He's MMA. Come on.
Neil, it's all good. In terms of his already done to date rapport building with me, he's already built up a quote unquote relationship of sorts, to the point where when he's had questions about certain flat earth circumstances he wants to overcome, He said, how do I overcome this? And I've told him. So it's like, he's already done that. Yeah? So, I don't know, Neil. The whole making
When
friends and...
somebody
I'm nearly
says,
done. I'm
I
nearly done.
effing love Nathan Oakley, you gotta know how to play that card. He loves you.
Oh, whatever. Okay, fine. Yes, he said that in the context of, I like this particular flat earth YouTuber and the content he produces makes me feel good about flat earth and how he does it. In terms of that being abbreviated to, I fucking love Nathan Oakley, he demolishes people. Yeah, good. I'm very pleased and I'm grateful that he's in touch with me. What I'm saying, Neil, is there's no need to push anything. That'll happen in its own good time. I'd rather it was happening in a way that was casual and relaxed, so that was the general demeanour about both of us when we sat in front of each other, chit-chatting about whatever, hopefully going off the subject in a happy-go-lucky way that everyone will enjoy when they listen back to it. All those good things will happen, Neil, I absolutely assure you. But there's no need to put pressure on it, especially as you're obviously envious on my behalf because of Witsit's good fortune with Joe Rogan. And I just don't get it. You should be...
No, I'm not envious. I'm not.
Yeah, you
You're
are.
taking it the wrong
Yeah,
way.
you are.
I just think, no, the only reason is I just think, come on, we don't put forth nonsense. It seems like we're trudging and doing all of this freaking work. And who gets the call? Somebody that talks about freaking ether and things that can't be validated.
What was my
All I'm
response to
saying
you?
is I
Hold
want
on.
the
This is
fair
why first thing I did, check my messages this morning, get this message from Neil. After all the hard work, Witsit gets this good fortune. What the hell? Okay, my response, Neil, if you compare yourself to others on YouTube, right, you'll go nuts. So just don't do it. You can only look at your own stats, your own progress, your own growth. My annoyance extends to very different things to Witsit's good fortune. If he grows and triples in size, fantastic, good news for him. Like I say, he's a family man like me. Good. I hope he does. You know what I mean?
In that part, I'm happy for him.
I'm nearly done, Neil.
You got you that?
I'm nearly done. So, in my own little circle of what I can pay attention to and what I can actually do things proactively about, right, I watch my own growth. And what annoys me was there was a chat skank in one of the shows saying, this show's not growing. Or something like that. It was like, he focused on something I'd said, or how I'd behave with Witsit, I think it was, in fact, and said, that's the reason you don't grow. And I became furious with this chat skank, because I'm like, I am growing. I know my stats, and I work bloody hard when I see any sort of decline. I'll triple my output, make really good edited videos till 3 a.m. and get up at 6 the following morning to go to the kids' classes. And all the stuff that I'll do, I'll just increase my output to make sure that that line goes up in all respects as much as possible whenever I can proactively influence it. So when someone comes along and says, that's the reason you're not growing, I am growing, how dare you? That was really frustrating. Now, what you're doing is juxtaposing me and my hard work, which is how you phrased it, with someone else totally inconsequential to me. We interact because we're in a similar subject, but we've got different channels to different people in different arenas, different social circles. And the fact that we have an overlapping subject is nothing but beneficial when you actually try and connect the two things together. That's we and Witsit in terms of our success. So when you actually see the overlaps that do exist between those two things, which are separate, you go, well, there can only be benefit to this good fortune that Witsit's having. And even if there wasn't any connection, if it was a completely different subject arena that he was seeing this benefit in, so we're not talking about not Witsit, but, I don't know, Piers Morgan going on Joe Rogan or something totally random that has nothing linked, you still have to have the same attitude. You can't go, oh, look how well Piers Morgan's done in his career. Yeah, he has, hasn't he? And, yeah, but you could have had some... Why are we doing this? All you'll do is go nuts. But there is a bridge between Witsit and I. We cover the same subject. Therefore, woohoo! Witsit's going to be on Joe Rogan. Awesome. Hope he gets some success out of it. Because, in my experience, it was very limited in terms of what I gleaned from Vice, for example. And Joe Rogan's enormous. So they go, well, hopefully I'll have some bloody impact on him. And that can only benefit me if the subject grows as a result of some of the great arguments that we put out and Witsit uses. And there is obviously overlap. But these things are all beneficial, but you're looking at it from a negative standpoint where you're like, well, it should be you. Well, maybe,
Not what I said. You're reading
Joe
the
Rogan's
text
watched some
wrong.
of the critical
I'm
stuff
not
we
going to
said.
have you
Nearly done,
misrepresent me.
nearly
It's not
done,
what I said.
nearly done.
I don't care. You
Well, he's
misrepresented
just
me.
talking straight through me. I'm in the middle of a rant. I'm addressing everything you said. If you want me to lose interest in this subject right quick, then you're going the right way about it. Yeah, maybe Joe Rogan's seen the fact that we are critical of him. In terms of the stuff that he covers that's nonsense, and when he's jogging along with the guest, because that's what you do as a good host, we're still critical of him jogging along with the guest if it's nonsense, aren't we? Well, maybe he's watched that and gone, fuck that, excuse my French. I don't want any part of this dickhead. All he does is criticise me when I'm being a good host and taking my guests that I'm here to interview through the process of, is this good, legit information or not, based on how I interview them. Now, sometimes you've got to nod along, but you're critical of me nodding along. How dare you? So therefore, I don't want to interview you, might be his attitude, just to divine the thoughts of Joe Rogan, like you've divined them of Witsit and various other people. You know what I mean, Neil? So therefore, if you want to go nuts, this is the right way of going about it. I would prefer to just prop people up on my shoulders if I can. Witsit being one of them if he's doing well. Good for him. Don't compare him to me and my hard work. My hard work is my own. I'm very grateful for what I do have. If I wasn't so knackered, I don't want to make excuses, but I do extended shout outs to the people who do actually support me, like patrons, right? It's about this time of the month that I get paid by them. My God, am I grateful I can actually cover my outgoings. I mean, I am seriously grateful to be in this position. Yeah, I'm scratching my way by, but I'm so grateful that I'm scratching my way by on YouTube. My God, what a wonderful life to have. So, to compare to someone else and go, oh, you could be doing better because he's just done better. That's a miserable way to go through life. I'm just grateful for what I've got, and I will consistently work as hard as possible to produce the very highest quality of content when it comes to this information. And that's all I can do.
You done?
Yes.
Okay. That's not what I said. Now, what happened the last time when there was a TV show involved or something where they were on Netflix? Look at the damage that was done. Still recovering from it. Still hear the stupid remarks of. Hold on. Don't interrupt me right now. It's my turn. That was the crew. He's part of Globebusters now. So just be prepared to do damage control. And of course I'm happy for Witsit. I know he's a family guy. I like the kid. When he sticks with the arguments and stays away from Ether, I promote him. I like him. You even hear me on the show say, I freaking like you, Witsit, but just stay out of Ether because it can't be validated. You're going to look like a nutter. That's all I was saying. And the other thing is, yeah, you do work hard. And why are people not looking that way? I think there's a reason for it. They want to promote certain people. They don't want to promote people destroying the fact that Earth is not a sphere and it is in fact flat. They're not going to promote us.
Okay. If you want to look at it that way. People do promote us.
Not mainstream don't
There's a
promote us.
problem with that.
Again, John.
Witsit is not Globebusters, and Globebusters is not Witsit. You can't say because people from Globebusters did such a thing, therefore Witsit doing such a thing is bad.
Yeah,
What
like they
happened
say.
when David Weiss went on Owen Benjamin? Same thing. The guy's still stuck. He hasn't progressed at all. Owen Benjamin. Okay? David Weiss got that call. Now Witsit gets the call to go on Joe Rogan. There will be no progression. Trust me.
You're such a
But
negative
Witsit is
Nancy.
not no bias.
Unless he
Witsit
sticks
is
with the
not no
arguments. Unless he sticks with the arguments. If he doesn't, there'll be no progression. There'll be talk of Ether, talk of freaking stars being sentient, and all the other nonsense, and you will not get no progression for Joe Rogan. And that's the guy that you want to progress into an understanding of how Earth is actually flat. I mean, we could prove it with celestial navigation. Something very simple you can lay out.
So I got one more
Yeah,
thing I wanted
but
to mention. I did an email out to Justin Peters, and he has a contact there. No reply, and not an email. On his website, it's contact me or whatever. So it says that he'll reply to anything said, right? We'll get back to you soon. So if anybody wanted to, because I went over the gas pressure problem and celestial navigation and how you can't measure an angle to a curve. So and it was very detailed, and I don't see how he would not, but because I tried to. Hey, I have a question. Is there a term for this? Where if you're stuck at a point, but then you try to jump past that point and continue. Let's say it's a math problem. You're supposed to do the things inside the parentheses first, right? But you skip that part and you do it in another order, and you end up at the wrong solution. Now, is there a fallacy? Is there a term that could be used that? Because I can't come up with it, but I know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Term is, you mucked that up good and proper, didn't you?
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
good
called
term.
doing it wrong.
You
Doing
did
it
that.
Yeah,
wrong.
it's
You
another
did that
good
there
one.
wrong. That's right. I think that's the word, isn't it, John? Wrong.
I got it. Okay.
And back to Witsit, you can't judge the individual based on people he's affiliated with. That's not fair to Witsit.
Okay, so we'll see. And the other thing is, I think this was known already, because there was a remark that he said to you during that little fiasco at Earth Awakenings, where he said, "We'll let the audience decide," and he said, "Yeah, we will," and they have. I think that was a little shot.
Do you want to be judged by the standard that Witsit is judging Nathan?
What's that?
Do you want to be held to that standard that you're trying to, like
That's not
Witsit's
what I'm
applied it to
saying.
us?
Not what I'm saying. I'm saying he knew well, or he may have even done it already, and he was throwing a little shot at you, like the audience has decided, buddy. I'm on Rogan.
Right. It doesn't matter though. This
What happens
isn't
before Pride, Neil?
this isn't about agreeing with someone or disagreeing with someone. The moment you can bring it to that, the globe wins.
I agree. But they always bring it to that. They always bring it to consensus. They always bring it to numbers. And they never stick on validating what we can validate so we can prove that Earth is flat and get out of this freaking ridiculous circular argument that's been going on for 10 freaking years. We've ended it. 2 quick blows. Black Swan, celestial navigation. It's over.
I love it. Keep the passion up, Neil. Yes, indeedy. Lower the cogs that turn
But
there, Neil.
all kidding aside, of course I'm happy for him. Are you kidding me? This is huge.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear it. If you're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, plus he's into us for 25 grand.
Neil, all we can do is focus on what we do and do it as well as we possibly can. That's all you've got to focus on. Make sure that you do what you do to the highest possible standard. That's it. That's all you can do.
Well said.
Can I do one thing? Oh, he's not here no more. I was going to ask Danny if he could use his voice at all. If he was here and now he's gone. I apologize.
Danny ain't coming out. He's never going to come out to play. Trust me. That look he gave Nathan Thompson says it all. In other words, he's not looking dumbfounded. He's just looking as if to say, I'm not going to talk to you. I have all the answers. And as long as I keep telling people that I have the answers, they'll keep believing me. And he's right.
Yeah, but deep down, you know he doesn't want to, as Lumpy or, was it Lumpy talking about this earlier? The quiver that people get in their voice when they know that they're being mentally deceptive, that they've done a few jiggery pokery bits in their own mind to get around an argument. They figured it out, and then when you call them on it, they have to face their own demons. They have to accept that they've come to this conclusion through fallacious means, and that's when you hear them. You can hear it in their voice every single time, can't you? So Danny doesn't want that, right? Nobody wants that. That's why it's so quiet here in the last couple of years. You get the odd person that stumbles their way in and doesn't realise what they're facing. They get a total hammering. It's enough to keep the bloodlust at bay from the people who watch that are regulars. But ultimately speaking, the people who are dyed-in-the-wood anti-flat earthers, they know better, don't they? And he's one of them. He knows better. He knows what he's going to get when we actually hold him to task for some of his nonsense. He knows that the moment he opens his mouth, 5 people are going to jump on him and ask him about angles from hell. Doesn't he?
That's correct.
Right. Would you want that? No, of course not. Danny don't want that. I don't blame you, Danny. Good for you. You want an easy life.
Oh, we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait for that
Well,
book
wait
to
a
come
second,
out.
gentlemen. There's a fella in the chat who's been following Nathan Oakley, and he says he can explain why Nathan's channel hasn't grown. So, Geeks, you want to pipe up and tell us?
That was the guy I spoke about earlier in the pre-show, presumably. Or it's someone else who's heard that and gone, I know how to piss him off royally. I'll just repeat what that guy said that he told us, pissed him off royally.
Well, he's in the voice chat. Good morning, Geeks. You want to say hello?
Hello. Can you hear me, gentlemen?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, everybody. Who do I have the pleasure of addressing? Mr. Oakley, sir. I've heard a lot about you. Pleasure to meet you.
Okay. Good to have you.
My name is Geeks.
No, it isn't, but fine.
That's cool. So I'm not the same person that you were referring to earlier. But I did hear you talking about growth and how Witsit's growth was good for you, etc., etc. But I've been looking at your numbers, sir, and it doesn't look like there is any growth.
Where'd you get the numbers?
In the last, I'm looking at views as a proxy.
Which views? What total statistical analysis of views are you getting the numbers from?
I'm just looking at the views that I have as someone who searches you. So if we look at, for example, let's say the last one, Flat Earth Debate 2068 Uncut, 16 hours ago, I see 390 views.
Well, that's one video.
Accurate?
That's one video. So you're telling me you're giving me a view statistical analysis based on a single video? Do you know how many videos I've got?
Yes, no, of course. I would never
How many
be
videos
so
have I got?
ridiculous to
How many videos have I got?
I don't know. How many do you have?
No, you don't even know how many videos I've got. So what were you going to? What factor you were going to multiply this number by? Because you're looking at one video and how it's doing. You're telling me that you're going to factor in the number of videos you don't know how many I've got by that number? Because they're all getting views.
Doesn't sound
Sorry,
like
it sounds like you don't know what
hear.
you're looking at. It sounds like you don't know how to do statistical analysis. I mean, you're talking to a salesman that had to base his entire career on doing statistical analysis to figure out how sales patterns progressed. But I mean, you tell me that you've looked at a video and you're going to tell me how my growth is doing. How dare you? Shut up.
How dare! I'm sorry, sir. I shouldn't have.
Well,
said
opened your
anything.
stupid
I
mouth and
apologise.
started stuttering when I pulled your stupid nonsense based on a single video to shreds. Yeah, you shouldn't have, because now you're stuttering. That's right. You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have.
I guess.
Shut up.
I guess not.
Shh. Thank you. We're done with you
you're
now.
not
We don't need
growing,
anything
you're
else
not
from you.
growing,
We've already pulled apart your
You're not
root
growing,
nonsense. You don't need to keep
You're not
waffling to
growing,
me.
though. You're not growing, though, are you?
Right, you're going to make your conclusion now after I've taken apart the base of your garbage that is based on nothing but a single video. You're going to now make your conclusion. Again, that's why I already said, how dare you? You are scum, and you're only here with a motivation to make your point that I'm not growing.
And you're not growing.
Yeah,
and
you
you're
keep
not growing.
repeating it. Can someone mute him? Because he's just chanting through me his conclusion, even though it's based on flawed statistics. It's not based on any analysis of actual data for my channel.
I bet.
Yeah, and he's still waffling through me. I've told you what it's not based on, and now he's chanting through me. What a scumbag. You want to chant your conclusion through the top of me, even though I've taken apart the basis. You don't know anything about my stats because they don't get published. I get to see my stats. You don't. I get to see how I'm progressing. You don't. You can have a little guess and then tell me that I'm not growing. How dare you? You don't know what I'm doing. I am growing. I check my statistics while you were talking because I check them daily.
I removed them.
Just here to tell an audience, look how badly he's doing, because that has a massive social impact. If you can tell somebody this company's not doing well, people go, is it not? Well, I better not buy from them then. That's the social impact of what he's trying to do. That's why I strive so bloody hard to make sure I do have growth. So when it comes to this discussion, I can put my foot down, immediately pull his garbage apart at its root, and point out the fact that I am growing. Yeah, the numbers are going up. And then I have to put a caveat, which is to say that because I'm absolutely cobbled by YouTube, the money is actually going down. Or plateaued, I should say. It's not going down, it's just leveled out after dropping a couple of months ago, or maybe 4 months ago. And it's plateaued. It's not going up. Very irritating as things get more expensive. Nevertheless, stats in terms of view time total, views, and subscribers are all up. This guy's just bullshitting to create an impression that I'm in a dying channel, because that's what they want. And after I pulled it apart at his root, he still made his conclusion based on what he saw in a single video. Bloody outrageous.
Yeah, it's like when they hold on. It's like when they say it's not flat, it's not flat, it's not flat. They get their words in there for a reason. He has an agenda. Don't let him back.
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Very, very well indeed. Something came to my attention through a discussion in the Master B back office chat for this show on Skype about JTolan Media. And I've got to be honest, I don't pay a great deal of attention to JTolan Media. What I actually see is people extracting out various different infrared and long distance imagery that he takes from aeroplanes and going, wow, look how Earth is flat. And you go, oh, that's very good. But I've never really, although I am subscribed to him, paid close attention to what he's actually doing. someone this morning, Michael, is outraged. Oh, I'm subscribed from this person. I'm like, well, why? He's like, well, go check it out. It's an absolute outrage. Well, okay, well, I'll have a look then. Let's have a look. So, a little peruse on double speed, this JTolan Media video, and he's looking at NASA imagery is professed to have been taken on missions through sky vacuums and analysing the, and I quote, atmospheric conditions of the moon. Now, I left one word. It's not even a real word as my reply in his comment section, because this is a brand new video. Came out in the last 7 hours. And I had a little quick check of the comments. I'm like, is this April Fool's Day joke? I noticed there's one with the comments. No, I don't think so. I mean, JTolan Media does his own thing. He does do a lot of long distance photography, but he also takes quite a few extrapolations that we would just laugh at in terms of acquiring distances to the heights of the sky, for example. So after watching this video, outrage had ensued in my back office, as I say, Master B on Skype. And I just went, oh, well, what else is JTolan Media up to? I wonder if there's anything in these titles that is directly related to things that we do. And the first thing I came off the back of looking at the video that had been outraged at was another video where he's talking about acquiring the height of the dome. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll find the timestamp where he juxtaposes the terrestrial measurements where you can get heights of things and use basic trig and even use it in navigation, as opposed to the parallel sky with the ground and the failure to change in angle as you raise an elevation. But he doesn't. He just uses it to acquire heights of stuff, which I sent to Adam and I was like, here you go, 11 minutes 55 in this video. Have a look at the maths. It's only about 25 seconds long, or what he's doing. So you can pour your outrage onto it. I just didn't realise. I mean, to my knowledge, JTolan Media is a flat earther. Therefore, to be assessing imagery from missions that have taken place in sky vacuums, which was the original video the outrage was expressed about. Maybe we'll have a look at it. Maybe we won't. We don't necessarily need to. yeah, that's obviously farcical. I mean, it just made me chuckle that people in our arena are still talking in those ways. So, has anybody else watched this video before we move on? And I'll maybe pull it apart a bit more. Maybe we'll do some housekeeping. Who knows? So exciting. Anyone else seen it?
I haven't seen it. No.
No? Okay.
Oh,
Go on, John.
I thought we were going to cover vegetables on the moon, but yeah, I'm really interested to see where he goes with the height of the dome.
Well, that's a separate video that he made about a year ago. So, I mean, that's something yeah, I picked out something that I thought would be interesting for us. But that isn't necessarily what sparked the outrage. And I've been subscribed to JTolan Media for as long as he's been around, which is maybe, 3 or 4 years? I don't know, maybe it's longer. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. My point is that I haven't been paying close enough attention to realise that this kind of nonsense gets pushed out there. I know it is, and we address it, right? You just don't necessarily expect it to be in someone that's so heavily referenced like JTolan Media. But there it is.
Right. When I seen the video, when I seen the thing in chat, I mean on Master B, I was asking Michael, is it? Doesn't he give us long distance shots? Is he not a flat earther? Why would you be talking about the moon and landings? I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. But he's never. Has anybody reached out to him? Does anybody speak to this guy? He's doing his thing, and I remember David Weiss telling me when I first met him, or first started talking to him, let's just say, that he had come to the subject of flat Earth before coming to NASA fakery. So there was a time when he was a flat earther and hadn't even considered certain aspects of space fakery. Right? It came to him in a different order. I mean, how that figures. You don't know what you don't know. Therefore, the order that you come to it in is kind of random in some cases. Now, in the case of JTolan Media, we take the bits that have been presented by others who have obviously cherry-picked it from his information. And in the same way as in the pre-show, we had Humble H moaning that he's putting out information, or was it Lumpy? I forget who, one of the two, putting out information that's critical of narratives that include sky vacuums and violations of the second law, and suddenly you're the bad guy when a load of flat earthers around you either feel embarrassed that they haven't pointed it out first, or they want the argument to continue with the nonsense waffle of the opponent. For one of those two reasons, you get called the bad guy for pointing out these highly effective arguments. But if you haven't heard them, if you're JTolan Media and you don't know, well, the journeys that are claimed to be taking place to get this imagery that you're analysing, beyond the stuff that you've captured yourself, requires you to believe that the sky is a vacuum in violation of a law of nature. That's entropic law and gas dispersion in this instance. Gas fills space. So to say that they've gone to space to get these pictures, no, they haven't. Definitely not. But you don't know what you don't know. So maybe we'll be the first to tell JTolan Media a good chunk of your information's garbage because it's being taken from references that have claimed to take place in places that can't exist. So you can't analyse photos from Narnia. Their credibility is immediately ruined based on the journey claimed to be taking place to take the images. Right at the conclusion. Who is that? Go ahead.
Sorry, but in 2024, Nathan, you mean to tell me this guy has not heard that you can't have gas pressure without containment in 2024? I don't think so.
I don't know.
He's heard it.
No, it's the implications. You might have heard the argument, but if you don't realise or don't take it in fully, you don't realise that some of the stuff that you're assessing has a narrative attached to it that includes a journey to a place that doesn't exist to get the images. If you just haven't appreciated that because someone's taken you through it in the way that I've just summarised it, you don't know what you don't know. Anybody from the chat? I'll have a quick goosey at the live stream chat and see if there's anybody who's got any comments on this. If you have happened to have seen it in the last, I think it's only come out in the last 10 hours. But if you happen to have had a goosey at JTolan Media's latest video, then let us know your opinion in the live stream chat, as we can actually go and have a look at it while people are reacting. There's almost 50 people here. I know we've only just started. I know we haven't. We've been now got a slightly different clock on, haven't we? Yeah, 10 or so minutes. Yeah, we've only just started and we've got a good chunk of, 60 people watching now. Well, someone obviously shared in between that sentence. But yeah, let us know if you've seen it. Divergent Droid has actually put a link to it if you want to go and watch it now. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He's a friendly as far as I know, so it'd be brilliant to actually promote people in the algorithm when they're probably suffering the same thing we do in that regard. So yeah, please let JTolan Media 1, I think is the name of the channel, know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link going by in the live stream chat from Divergent Droid. But if you happen to have seen it already, please give us an idea of if you're like just laughing at it like I did, watching it at double speed, or if you're like Michael Kahn, who's like, I'm unsubscribing based on this garbage. I mean, what's your attitude to it? I'm kind of indifferent really at this point. I don't know about any of you on the panel.
Michael said he's going to unsubscribe.
I think that's what I only gleamed over. I watched the video and he was like, watch this. And I'm like, okay, because I asked him, well, what's the big deal? He was like, well, just go and watch it. So I did. And then when I came back to the chat, it's like, I scrolled back up and I'm sure he said that he'd unsubscribed. I can't remember. Maybe I'm mistaking it for something else. You know, I only had a cursory glance at Master B this morning. Should we do a bit of housekeeping? We're still early enough in the show, aren't we? Why not? Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
That's JTolan Media.
Well, if we start with the conclusion that there is a space that gas isn't filling, we can start talking about trips taken to such places and what happens there and try to debunk the physics of that place.
No, without the container, you cannot have pressure.
Yeah, you've got to step into a paradigm that violates a natural law, right, John?
Yep. Yeah. You gotta kind of whistle past the graveyard, as QE says, to even have that discussion.
Okay, we'll get some opinions from the chat. So, never heard of JTolan Media. We'll check him out, says Richard G. So there's obviously people who just don't know of this guy. We've mentioned him a few times, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the audience is acutely aware of this particular individual. Thank you for letting us know. Richard G is also one of my members, so, you know, it's not like he's going to be some newbie. Yeah, please let him know, Richard G. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Throw him a sub, why not? It's got some wicked imagery. Jay says it with tongue-in-cheek, says Richard Spillman. Does he? I mean, he's got a bit of an accent on him, and you read in between the lines a little bit there, and a few of the other commenters under his video alluded to that. So, maybe, but we just don't know. I don't want to divine his motivation. I can only go on the words he says. So when he's talking about atmospheres around the moon, I'm like, what, sphere-shaped air in a sky vacuum? Atmo what now? So you say it's tongue-in-cheek, but he says what he says, you know. Iron FE as well has unsubscribed, says Christian. Oh, I don't know if he has or not, but speak on his behalf, why not? Thank you for letting us know. He must be gutted. Handful of flat earthers have unsubscribed. Hope he's okay. Yeah, that seems a bit unnecessary. You know, if the guy's, I don't know, chew the meat, spit off the bones, maybe. Level bastard. What a name. Thank you for your comments. Keep them coming. I'll read out a few more of them as they come. Gas fills space, says Christian. Yeah, exactly. But doesn't necessarily mean he knows about him. Saying him because I'm thinking about juxtaposing this with one of the chat commenters that didn't know about him. So just because we know about him and we know what he's talking about, and we have now lent extreme importance to his, let's be honest and fair, nonsensical assertions of atmosphere, oxymoron, sphere-shaped air around the moon in a sky vacuum, based on imagery that's been taken from said sky vacuum, in some instances over the plane of an obvious globe Earth. I mean, when I did get to that point, whoever it was that said that from the chat, that he's saying it tongue-in-cheek, it did certainly seem that way to me when I got to that part, but only because cognitively, to me, the moonrise images are so farcical to me now, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are to him. I mean, as I say, you can only go on what he says. Any more on this? I said I was unsubscribing what others do isn't my concern, says Michael Kahn. Yeah, I wasn't in any way using you as a lever to suggest people should do. Quite the contrary. In fact, hopefully you're not annoyed because I'm sending people his way, Michael. Go and tell him that I've sent them. So there we go. Maybe we should have a little look at this. What do you reckon, guys? Should we have a little looky? Yes, Nathan, really keen. No? Yeah? Our panel have all gone to lunch.
Yeah,
Clearly.
definitely.
Hides it up in this ad. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. So let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. As I say, mods will be sticking a link to this particular video right now in the live stream chat. I should do my own call to action and explain why I do that each time. Consistently, I have to date. The reason we suggest people go and let other videographers know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment that hopefully won't get removed is to hopefully get the same back in return. That is to say, where YouTube do not favour flat earth content that is pro-flat earth, the algorithm will sort through to anti-flat earth presented if you search for this subject, which means we get shoved to the bottom of the lists. Now, if you are to react to our videos, this is true for friend and foe, we would hope that you'd put a link to our video like I'm doing for JTolan Media One now, and sending people his way, so that we at Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, collectively as Flat Earth Debate, can receive in some of the YouTube algorithmic love that we desire but do not receive. So hopefully he'd put a link to our video if he was to respond to us and say, no, you've got it all wrong. This is tongue-in-cheek. I do appreciate that the moonrise images are completely ludicrous.
Is life still thriving on the moon?
What's the moon? Anybody? What's the moon? Life thriving on it? What is it? How do we know there was ever life on it? Why are we working on the immediate presupposition that there was ever life, that there could be life, that it potentially harvests life, or I just don't understand it. What is the moon? Do we know? No, we don't.
Are we beholding a magnificent desolation, frozen in time?
What is it again? For us to assess whether or not we're assessing desolation over time? I don't know what it is.
Is the truth hidden from us? I invite you to come with me on a journey of discovery. But of course, he was behind some thin clouds. But nonetheless, its temperature could be survivable on the surface. The most amazing thing that caught my
So by now, he's obviously already ascribed physicality and surfaces to the moon, as you can tell.
attention was this halo around the moon. Is it an atmosphere, thermosphere?
Thermo, what now? No. To describe gases not filling areas of volume is utterly absurd. Based on thermal imaging, you can't suggest that there are gases surrounding something in a sky vacuum, which is in essence what I object to the most in this video. No, your speculations are null and void because you've got second law of thermodynamics violation, atmosphere, oxymoron descriptions within them.
It really fascinated me, and that's when I realized what is really happening.
No, you didn't. You're just going to describe the sun heating up the moon.
The solar angle of illumination relative to the surface dictates the amount of heat that's being deposited.
Does it? Verified by what? How have you checked this is true? Oh, just based on this. So this is the same as spectroscopy extrapolation from heliocentrism. There's a mouthful.
And so we see a bright red, which indicates a hot zone.
What, therefore the sun's heating it up? Why? No. No evidence. Just a baseless assertion. Well, baseless beyond this thermal imaging.
Right, normal to that vector. And also, when the phase is half, we look and notice that there is also a tiny gradient, indicating the presence of an atmosphere.
Really? So what? Because you can see light gradients, that means that you've got sphere-shaped air not dispersing into an area of volume without containment. No, this is a straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation, JTolan Media. Were you unaware? It's not like we've been saying it for the last 7 years or anything.
This was incredibly fascinating.
Not really. It's a second law of thermodynamics violation. It's just a blurry image of the moon. But nevertheless, you can extrapolate out oxymoronic sphere-shaped air without containment, not dispersing into volume in violation of natural law. You can speculate and then say it's a revelation. It isn't. It's garbage. But maybe you were unaware. Like I say, you don't know what you don't know. Well, we're here to tell you. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
But I wanted a little bit more resolution.
This is the bit where it gets, to my own estimation,
emotion.
quite farcical.
Apollo 11 launch. It is quite interesting and fascinating. I've been to Kennedy Space Center so many times while living in Florida, and I've enjoyed it every time, but after a while it gets old. Here's me learning to pilot the space shuttle. There's lots of exhibits and things to see,
and he's now going to lean on the imagery that's been taken from these vessels from sky vacuums. They haven't been to sky vacuums to take the imagery he's about to assess, but he's going to assess it anyway. Go ahead.
He's a space cadet. He's a space lover. Look, he's all giddy.
No, Nelly, guys, I think he's just joking. He's poetry talking about something that.
How do you know?
He's mocking the people.
How do you know?
Because I have got so many videos from him, and that's his way to talk. And then maybe he will answer the question. He making up that people are thinking about. He's not saying this like that. There's a lot of questions. What can we say if people are saying that the moon is in the atmosphere? Then we have to ask, if it's in the atmosphere, what about thermodynamics?
underestimated slightly.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned it earlier, we're going to go to this other video. Hopefully Adam will join and we'll get a bit more of an analysis of it, but I'm only going to play about a minute.
By about 0.004 of a degree. That's 6/7 times the angle for 1 pixel. And so the final values are shown there. 3.824, that's the final in radians, 0.066741 radians. And in terms of pixels, 851.3 pixels. And so we'll use this value together with the values derived from imagery to calculate the distance to the stars.
Hopefully you all caught that. We're doing terrestrial.
What?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Can you rewind that just one more time? Did he just say he
Just break up while asking the question? That's the most important bit.
calculate the distance to the stars using terrestrial geometry?
Yes, he did.
Radians. And in terms of pixels, 851.3 pixels.
It's currently talking about the triangulation to a mountain in the distance, yeah? Perfectly reasonable.
And so we'll use this value together with the values derived from imagery to calculate the distance to the stars.
There you go. As I say, I wanted Adam to have a quick listen to the same section, and hopefully he'll give his analysis on it when he gets here, if he gets here. So there's things not to like about what JTolan Media is doing. For the benefit of the audience, as we discussed this in the pre-show, there is a distinct difference in terms of how you measure the sky versus how you measure things that are physically capable of having a tape measure and up them, if you will. So if you're doing navigation with a lighthouse and you've got the position on the map, then you've got something that you can physically triangulate with standard trig because you know heights, distances. You've got all the information you need for triangulation of a position. But you can use, for terrestrial objects, standard trig, which would involve the height. And can involve the height because you know the height. Okay. Then you move over to a completely different methodology, which isn't using all the standard trig and standard geometry that we would expect from a physical item with a height. And that's when we use celestial navigation. Then the circumstances change completely. You're dealing with a parallel plane, that's the sky and ground parallel with one another, and the angular representation doesn't change with altitude. Obviously, contrary to what you would expect with something like a lighthouse, where you go up in height and the angle decreases. Or if you're above it, you decrease and the angle decreases, or whatever. Depression angles, elevation angles would behave in a certain expected manner if the item has a fixed height. The stars do not, so you treat them differently. Now, in terms of their physical relationships to where your position will be, with a calculable distance based on the angle over a given piece of land, you can use that to, I don't want to say triangulate, but that's the best way. Use three circles of equal elevation to pinpoint your position using the stars and their locations at given times, as noted in the almanac. So that makes a principle that does not comport with standard principles. But he's convoluted the two, JTolan Media in this instance, to infer that you can get a distance to the stars. And he's basing it on a land measurement with presumably his focal length as part of the mathematics, although he did use pixels. Nevertheless, you can't do that. The stars don't have a fixed distance. The sky doesn't have a fixed height. Everything that you run along the sky in terms of a baseline and angle to anything in it will always be the same angle regardless of height. You're just dealing with a parallel plane that doesn't behave in the way that you'd expect anything else to behave. Anything else I should add to that, John or Neil or anybody else? Johnny?
I have a problem with JTolan. He thinks he can triangulate the sun or the stars somehow with theodolite or geographic measuring and so on. And he's given us some number and doing like that and using some software and measurement. So he came from the world of the technical and so on. So he is something. Sometimes he's not serious. He's trying to be telling us some poetry, maybe. But nobody can say no against his infrared photography and distance and so on and so on. So, okay, keep on.
Because that's not how it's done. You need to refer to ground positions. In other words, you need to refer to the grid system that gives us the ground positions to do these maths, not with pixels.
Yeah, you cannot work with pixels because everything is apparent that we are seeing is not exactly there that we are seeing. Therefore, we are not able to triangulate the sun.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You've got a perspective view of the world, but that doesn't represent a dome. That's an extrapolation from how you view a parallel plane. That is to say that as the stars move away from your position, as they move through their cycles in the sky, they're moving over different pieces of land. And depending on the star, let's pretend that it's one that's definitely moving further and further and further away from you as it reaches the horizon, as they all do. Well, that circumstance has been documented, but the way you view that is to say, let's pretend the star started at your zenith and then throughout the night makes its way to the horizon, right? Just for ease of description. Well, if that was the circumstances, to your view, what you described as apparent, Johnny, that apparent representation is that it's dropping in the sky, but it isn't. Yeah, that's just how it looks to you. Well, we've extrapolated that out into a dome and then tried to then use the mathematics of how things behave when they are physically cemented to the ground in the case of a mountain versus how the stars behave, and they just don't behave the same. So there is no comparison to be drawn, but JTolan Media is drawing one. And it's just our apparent view as you described it, a perspective view, yes.
Can you then just repeat and say that's the problem with JTolan? Everything is a grade around and so on, distance and so on, photography and so on. The problem with JTolan is that he really thinks he can use some measurement to get some kind of triangulation of celestial object. And the pixelization, he's counting pixels. That's absolutely nonsense in this scenario that we are in. No, we are not able to do that, just like I said before, because that we're seeing is a apparent view. That's all.
Fair enough. But if you're suggesting that he is doing it tongue in cheek, then that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why would you do that? But
Doesn't make no sense at all.
What
Is
doesn't
actually
make sense? What do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean? Can you
there's
clarify?
no point having this conversation. We're just trying to divine motivation, and it's pointless. Let's not do this. 70 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Please let JTolan Media know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's going to be links going by, as we're being fairly critical of some of the things that I've not randomly but sought out in the last 24 hours to critique.
tedious. So I've taken 30 exposures out of the two cameras, left and right. 1 through 8 were ruined as I was moving the camera to the location. So here I'm starting to process L09, left and right. So I copied it from the right over to the left. I'm naming the layer. We have to copy as new layer. And
it's actually not this video I wanted to cover. Sorry.
Change.
This isn't actually what I wanted to stick with the other one. It was only that one little section that we've already covered. Sorry.
It's quite enjoyable. Let's listen to what Jim Lovell has to say.
I'm going to spin on past this. There's various bits that I wanted to show his opinion of, which is where we get to the Earthrise picture, somewhere around here. Might be towards the end. There we go. Somewhere around here. Stupid ads.
Control. The hyperspectral imager on board Galileo took this photo of the moon, and look at that greenery. Wow, when I saw that, I said, that's the true color of the moon right there. It corresponds with what Apollo 8 photographed. Just incredible, folks. And then the Himawara 8 and the GOES satellite imaging suites confirmed the same thing. Here is one of the most incredible images.
Don't sound tongue-in-cheek to me, but when I watched this morning, I was like, really? Is this serious? And that's where I scrolled down and saw some comments saying, is this April Fool's? What's going on? Really?
After I saw this incredible, breathtaking photo of the moon, folks, I had my answer. I knew what the correct color of the moon should be. It was this one. Even though it was low resolution, there's a lot of greenery right where Apollo 11 landed. And so I was anxious to process the high resolution images to confirm that. So without further delay, here's the incredible high resolution photos of the Apollo 11 landing site that
Prepared to be totally
Okay,
underwhelmed.
it has to be a joke. It has to be a joke. I never heard him talk like this.
Does
and
it?
Give something example like this. It's absolutely insane. What can
I
I say?
produced.
It's what happened. He has to say
Wow. Amazing.
Oh.
You're breaking up.
Okay. Can I finish what I was trying to say? There is some problem there. It's not JTolan. It's like I get paid or treated or something. That what you're showing me here is absolutely nonsense. So everybody can see that. That's going through all of this material that we have gone through. It's absolutely nonsense that you're showing here.
Yeah, we know it's nonsense. I'm not disputing that, right? But he's still putting it out there. But it seems like you're making apologetics for him, and it's just what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he had never done something like that before. So I'm wondering what this is about.
As a PhD, shouldn't he know that claiming there's temperature within a vacuum that could be measured from a distance, right? Because he did make that claim. Shouldn't he know better?
There's a lot he should know better about, but that's why we're looking at it. I mean, we've got people apologising on his behalf, people saying it's a joke, asking if it's April Fool's a few days early. But we don't know, do we? So maybe we'll get a response. Maybe he'll do a response video and explain it to us because we're questioning it, right?
Well, we know he's made a video right now. That's all we can go by.
Yeah. I mean, again, Michael was the one who brought this to my attention in the Skype chat, and he's like, well, he's just shat on all of his good work by doing this. And yeah, that's kind of why it's worth a reaction. Would you not agree?
Yeah, definitely. And he's trying to use charisma. It seems to me maybe he, I'm not going to get into that, but I wouldn't do that. I know it. I'm not going to deceive people. Thank you, Nathan, for doing this.
Oh, I mean, he just caught my attention because he's a well-known name. Not to say that everybody in the chat knows who he is, and hopefully he does, pick up some algorithmic love from us sending people his way. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Divergent Droids just dropped their, or his link, so you can do exactly that now. Like I say, hopefully he'll make a response and he'll put a link to our video and he'll explain his motivations. Or he'll just say, no, I'm just using the mainstream rhetoric. This is reminiscent of Ballbusters about 6-7 years ago. And Bob Notail, rest in peace, was talking about the NASA claims that they'd fired something at the moon and it rang like a bell. And for whatever reason, Bob liked that narrative and just decided that that particular piece of garbage from the same lying source that everything else we debunk comes from is valid. And that there's an area you can travel through to get to fire stuff at it so that it can ring like a bell. You're like, why? It's just selective cherry picking of evidence that supports whatever narrative you want to put out there. Now you've decided that because NASA say it rings, that's somehow supportive of a narrative that you want to push, therefore that bit of information is true. Like, no. Even though maybe at the time some of us in this arena weren't aware that you can't travel to the moon via a sky vacuum, we'd all be dead, the gas we're breathing would fill the space. But they still did it and it still rung like a bell. No, it doesn't work like that. No, all claims from Narnia are garbage because they claim to come from Narnia, a place that isn't real. There is no sky vacuum. There is no journeys to the moon. There's no satellites taking pictures of this stuff from space. So, all of these narratives are just bunk. Shout out to Brian Bender, FDFE, no container for GP. Gravity takes care of that. Ooh, can we test it then? Thank you for the super chat. Do we need any more of JTolan media? Have we heard enough? Do we want his conclusions after showing the moon landing site? Is this it? Is that it?
I can see this is one of the beginning of the weeks.
Keep it all quiet.
Sorry, hold on.
Just
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wasn't saying anything important. I was just saying it sounds like the beginning of the week to me. Very slow and dreary.
Do you not think it's out of character? I mean, we've got 90 people watching this, Neil. Okay, I mean, if this is dreary to you, seems right up our alley to me.
I'm talking about everybody. Everybody sounds like they're dead. Nobody's responding. Who's in chat? Is anybody here? Who's on G+?
We were just talking to Johnny and Lumpy and... Okay, Neil.
incredible, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and if you have, give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for more. I'm only warming up. I have a lot of gear and I'm processing all the other Apollo landing site. Thanks again for watching.
Look at the image he's using. Right, the stop motion animation of the models. Seriously? Is this really what you're using? I mean, come on. I mean, it does make me chuckle, but without divining his motivation, you can just take what he's put up on screen. He's studying these fascinating images. This is done on a little miniature set. What the hell? It's a model on strings. What? Really? Okay.
I don't know what to say because he is shown in many other videos how a long distance. He is saying all the time, the Earth is flat, and so on and so on. And, oh, that's so beautiful, guys. The Earth is flat. And then in some other few minutes later, or the next video, he's talking about some nonsense. That's saying that something is happening in space and so on. That cannot be. Then you're taking the argument against that the Earth is flat. So he's against himself. He's talking about one time something up, saying that the Earth is flat, and the other time like everything is like it was before, and it's a globe and
Gotcha.
spinning, and
They're saying he's a shill.
or maybe he doesn't understand it. He's not grabbing it. Yeah, measure it flat, but he's still living in a fantasy somehow.
They're saying ignorant or a shill.
Ignorant, maybe, but he has a great job and a lot of talent and a lot of skill. He cannot be stupid.
Again, why are you making these apologies? Do you know this guy? Have you ever spoken to him?
Oh, I have followed him few years his work, and sometimes I'm pissed off because he never can come to the point really. But I love what he has done, using his time and effort, and he has flying all over the place, and he using the infrared imagery and long distance and so on. There's a lot of things that we can grab from him, but at the same time he's still in. Somehow in his mind in a globe.
Okay. Hold on one sec. Just going to shout out Brian Bender, sorry. He says, I have a photo of a fake moon or Mars backdrop that was taken at JPL. Would love to share it. Yeah, join the Discord server. Hopefully someone can stick it in the Skype chat and we can actually get it up on screen. Wonderful stuff. Thank you for the super chat as well. Really appreciate the support. Please share the show if you've not done so already. It'd be great to get up to 100 people watching. 87 currently watching. Where are we? We've got about a quarter of an hour left, so yeah, nice to get up to 100. Smash that share button if you've not done so already. I don't consider this dreary, Neil. It's one of those things. Why he's put this out there, he might have a really good explanation. Whether or not he even feels it necessary to explain himself, he's like, well, why wouldn't I accept this imagery of the stop motion animation models? They're real. They're told to us to be real. Okay. Or the satellite imagery that he appealed to. You know, maybe we will get a response from him. Who knows?
I wasn't talking about the
I'm
video.
pretty dumbstruck by it.
Neil, then
Yeah,
John.
John.
Go on, Neil. We can hear you nice and clearly now.
No,
then,
I wasn't talking about the video. I was just talking about, I guess it's just another Monday freaking morning.
Life is sweet as far as I'm concerned. Neil.
I was
Yeah, John.
dumbstruck, Neil. I was just dumbstruck by the whole thing. Like I couldn't. Like,
Neil,
have you ever
please
just had a moment where you're just taken aback completely? That was that for me.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to say, and the dumbfounded reaction that Neil's like, has nobody got anything to say? And it's like, what can you say? The people that have made apologetics for him and said, well, this is leaving, well, Johnny's suggestion he's either a shill or he's just ignorant. Well, okay, that's a reasonable kind of conclusion that average Joe's going to come to when you assess this at face value. You're like, what else can you suggest? What the hell is the only thing you can ask? And hopefully we'll get an answer from JTolan Media. What the hell? This is where you need that soundboard. What the hell? I'm my own soundboard. I can do it myself. Don't need a button. So yeah, has anybody else got any opinions on this from the Discord server? JTolan
Yeah, I
Media's.
think there was a bad soundbite from you, Nathan. Maybe use some black that really can sing.
Okay, thanks for
This is
that.
about as bad as it can get, in my opinion. He's trying to validate the moon landing. I mean, what in the world? And I think he promoted like flat Earth things, possibly. Again, this is divining motive, and outcome. Maybe he's being paid to now punch a bunch of
I was just gonna say the
nonsense.
same thing, Lumpy. Maybe he's getting freaking paid.
Yeah, we already had it from
that's
Johnny.
kind of the direction.
Yeah, Johnny hinted
I
at
think
that.
he's
It was
just making
hold
fun.
on, let's just give Johnny props. It's not often we get to give Johnny props. He was a lot more subtle about it. I had to say chill based on extrapolating out his subtlety. Now you two are like, maybe he's getting paid. Yeah, far less subtle. Kudos, Johnny. That was, nice and subtle so I could say it on your behalf without you having to say it. And maybe he is getting
that was
paid.
something new you say that I'm doing so well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, it could be just algorithmic exploitation. He's spotted, because he's not dumb, that, hold on, if I go in line with the narrative, that'll get heavy promotion. Well, let's just go in line with the narrative then. Let's just talk about pictures from sky vacuums and how wonderful they are and how amazing they are and how much I'm going to study them and compare them to stuff I have actually taken of my own.
Okay,
all slotted into the narrative.
I have some.
Go on,
Okay,
Johnny.
I have some information. I know people because he was inside the battery of like NASA and all of these technical people. He was doing a lot of work that was for inside that party. So he got a lot of people was almost threatening him and saying and taking him down in many ways. And he's a man that's always flying out all around the world and so on and so on. He needs money. He cannot stop living without money and some support. So it's like if you stop this fucking nonsense, then we will give you the money. And if you don't take the money, we will do something that you don't like.
Well, it's
Okay?
algorithmic money. It might not necessarily be directly someone handing over sweaty fistfuls of cash. Okay, let me just respond to XB Black Ice. He says he doesn't validate it at the end of the video. He says it was in a studio. Let's just have a listen. We've only got 1 minute left.
Watching, everyone. See you in my next video.
There was nothing there.
No, there was nothing there. Well, I just wanted to check because I had only spun through it earlier. But no, unfortunately not. He doesn't say it was in a studio. But it was. I did. We said.
I can say, I just, it's a fucking, oh, sure.
No swearing.
Sorry. I know.
I've got to get a box
I'm
now.
just thinking about it. It's terrible. I'm terrible. I'm trying to think it's just a silly joke or something that he's doing, and I will give some clarification later. He has done that before. So maybe he is just having a fun of both sides, and he's a loner, just going his own way through it.
Johnny, are you a fanboy, Johnny?
No, of course not. I'm just
there's
trying to find some excuse. Of course, I cannot see the excuse, but I'm trying to find something.
Yeah, it didn't sound like he was white knighting for him. He's just coming. I'm asking for why. I'm asking for explanations, and he's digging deep to try and come up with them. And like he's fanboying for him. Well, there's got to be some reasonable explanation for this because unless he's poking fun at both sides and just having a bit of a laugh, that's the current speculation on the table.
Yeah, so that's on the table. It can be just joke from him, personal joke somehow, and we're not grabbing it. We're not able to grab that joke really because just coming out us like that, and we.
But if that is the case, Johnny, I find that objectionable because I take this seriously.
Yes.
So
exactly.
that is objectionable, but we don't know that. That's your speculation. We're just spitballing about what could be the motivation for this crazy video that's come out from JTolan Media. But by the same token, I can dig back, as I did and showed, and we haven't had Adam Graces with his presence, but maybe we'll discuss it with him tomorrow. There is still an aspect that you can look at that he's done in the past in terms of elevation angle measurements, terrestrial versus celestial, and pick floor with it like we've done. Well, we weren't picking floor with it 12 months ago because obviously he's metaphorically slid under the radar in that regard. Now, the fact that he's now done something else that's objectionable to Michael Kahn specifically, and it's been brought to my attention through that means that he's just happened to have watched that video and gone, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, well, where was your objection 12 months ago when he was talking about measuring angles to the stars and getting heights of domes? You know what I mean? In other words, this is not out of character for him from what I've seen over the last 24 hours just from having a quick cursory look. So, does it matter? We just need to tell him. Space is fake, mate. Did you not know? I know you've been to the Kennedy Space Station and sat in the LEM, but it's not been to a sky vacuum. Maybe you were unaware. Gas-filled space.
But anyways, I will say something. I've never heard you, Nathan, say that, because that's a great point. I think I'm trying to say now. If you're able to take angle or elevation angle to any star, sun, or the moon, and you're able to come home over 700 miles, 1,000 miles, or whatever, and you're home after this measurement, then the Earth is flat. There's no other explanation. If you are able to use that and use the elevation angle and to the horizon that is in front of you, straight in front of you, nobody can say the Earth is as spherical as a ball, because that's impossible. Because we are talking about extreme long distances. And you are able to take the sun on the horizon. You're talking about thousands of miles away.
Are you? We don't know the distance.
And then we get the circular
You don't know that.
altitude.
Oh, you do in terms
No.
of the GP position. Okay, I'll take it back. Yes, I see where you're going. I should have.
He's
held my tongue.
talking. He's talking. Yeah,
Okay,
he's talking about the land.
Yeah, he's talking about the
See.
distance to GP. I interrupted unjustifiedly, but it also gives me an opportunity to shout out Brian Bender. So, shared photo in main text chat on Discord. Can one of my mods stick the chat share that Brian Bender has just put into the Discord server into Master B, so we can have a quick goosey? Hopefully we can get it in before the end of the live show. 97 people watching. Oh, so close to 100. Please share the show if you've not done so already. And because there's 97 people watching, a very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. You've probably only joined us because one of the regular live stream viewers has shared the show. So thank you to all of you who shared. A very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Please share the show if you've not done so already. And let JTolan Media, as we're discussing him primarily today, know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me if you hadn't done so already. Lots of calls to action right before the end of the show.
I will just say, do you know why I have almost over 100? It's because I am on the show. Just think
Okay, this is the image from Brian, I assume, with this tripod and this picture of Mars or Jupiterscapes or whatever they are in the backdrop. I presume this is your picture. No heritage information, so we don't know what this is, but that's what he sent us. Thank you for sharing it with us. I'm sure we'll get a better backstory from you in time. What's this pyramid thing? What's that all about? These are obviously backdrops. I can recognize a set with backdrops easily enough. Okay, well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the super chat. 100 people watching. Right at the point that I'm going to round out in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much for all of you who shared the show. It's nice to get to 100 people watching. Sweet, says Old World Vegas, who's got a new channel name apparently. Good to have you all in the live stream chat. Christian says no sky vacuum. Yeah, that's the main theme of the show, Christian. You know, if JTolan Media hasn't learned already that you can't have gas pressure without a container and that gas disperses into volumes of space, otherwise known as the space that he's thinking these photos have come from, they haven't. You can't have gas pressure without a container. in the background through the fence, says Richard Spillman. Hopefully he's talking about that picture. Go ahead, Neil. Sorry. Just reading some of the chat comments. 103 people
I was
watching.
going to say, nobody has ever demonstrated gas pressure without containment. So, I mean, come on. What would it be pressing on if there was no containment? There would be no pressure.
Yeah, without the container, there can be no pressure. Conspiracy cats from about 5 years ago, after being asked by me about 100 times.
And I hear people say gravity's the container, but what's gravity? Bending of space-time can affect gas behavior?
No.
I can't find that anywhere.
Yeah, but the effect that it would be having to have, according to the narrative, is to make it go down, go boom boom, go splash splash. Well, gas doesn't behave that way. Regardless of their apologetics that would infer that gas go down, go boom boom, it doesn't, Neil. It is as simple as that. Gas expands to fill the volume in all instances. 108 people watching. Cool.
Yeah, that's why I think that's so important. How Brian broke that down. That really weight is it's nothing. It's just effects of buoyancy. Correct?
Yeah. Then circular reasoning would take gravity to be an effect of a description within buoyancy to be ascribable to an extra effect that is the overall description. That is buoyancy for anything that goes up. Ergo, ascribing a gravitational downward vector to push things up. And in said narrative, gas go down, go boom boom. But it doesn't. Gas expands in all directions to fill the volume.
Hey, can I jump? So another thing you could express entropy as is temperature dispersion. Now, is temperature being pulled down? I mean, it's absurd, right? So, right.
Well, that's Brian's territory. Absolutely. They're all intrinsically linked to temperature. You can't have temperature without a container would be one of Brian's correct assertions, because these three things are all connected intrinsically. So yeah, you can't have temperature without a container either.
Well, separate from that, Nathan, say you have a hot cup of coffee and the room ambient temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and whatever that converts to in Celsius. However, the coffee would be hotter than the room environment. However, it's going to disperse that heat energy, which is similar to gas pressure energy dispersing to equalize. Now, that equalization process has, when you consider it with temperature, has absolutely nothing to do, and it can have nothing to do, and it's entropic. So therefore, if somebody were to be able to position it in that sort of context or that sort of way to reason out an issue and to understand better what entropy is, that way we can maybe get to the new people that this is not that, or gases. Well, I mean, you say it and absolutely correctly. It is not falling down going boom, boom, splash, splash, but to parallel that and separate from the containment requirement for temperature, but a hot cup of coffee or a hot pin nail or heat from a hot stove, if it's electric, would be a better way to, you're going to feel the heat coming off of it, pushing into the cool, which is identical in essence. Just
yeah, it's the same. It's a similar hot to cold is the same in terms of the entropic description of gas dispersion, is what you're trying to say. And yeah, you're right. I just want to read out this comment from Sven P. He says, well, the plot thickens, and we shouldn't be surprised. I do believe the power of contradiction is a very popular tool among some lodge-dwelling folk. And then he's got an all-seeing eye. Very good, Sven. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. JTolan is definitely a flat earther. You can watch him in a Level movie and or Next Level. Those two documentary / movies. Yeah, well, it would certainly seem the case, but as we've been doing in this show, you can only go by what people actually say. And we're doing just that, regardless of if he's got a justification for it being tongue-in-cheek or trying to play both sides. Again, all have got various objections that we would hold to that based on that statement being true. Thank you for your comments. Temperature, vacuum, and gas pressure require containers. Yes, they do, Christian. Any more for any more on this? If not, I'm going to round out and ask people to stay tuned if they're watching on an after show. No? Yeah? No? Clearly not.
And Nathan Oakley was able to bring it up so quickly. I never seen this video that I was talking about, so it was a shock because I didn't know it was so far away.
Shut up, Neil.
But anyway,
What? He wasn't saying anything.
it was not Leo, it was Johnny. So you can say shut up, Johnny, if you want.
Just said something.
No.
I didn't know QE was here.
Is that the way I talk, Mr. Quantum Eraser?
Oh, shit.
You see my response to your message yesterday?
Who, me?
No, I didn't get to yours. But what I don't know.
Nah, Neil, he always sends me messages, but he never responds. So I send him replies, and he didn't even.
Well, let me go have a look-see.
Did you catch any of today's show, QE?
I did not, sir. Sorry.
Okay. We were looking at a JTolan media video where he's basically leaning on evidence from sky vacuums.
Interesting.
Very.
Thought he was a flat earther.
He is. Well, as far as I know, he is.
So now he's not?
I don't know what to say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something going on in flat Earth, and I don't like it.
Something fishy, isn't there, Neil?
You got JTolan. Who's next? BLMSB? He's gonna get some Jupiter shots now.
Maybe.
What's it going on? Rogan, JTolan Media on the moon. Has anybody approached you, Nathan, and said, "Hey, if you start talking about this, we'll give you $250,000"?
No, Neil. I'll be sure to let you know if they do.
Nathan, we know you need the money. Are you sure you will not take the money?
No.
Thanks
They
for
know
that. Yes,
they would
thanks,
not
Johnny.
take the money. They know who to bribe and who not to bribe. You would not even be approached, Nathan. Now, QE, on the other hand,
Not a backhanded slight.
Saying you're soft. Saying you're soft.
or let me rephrase that. Now, QE, on the other hand, he might.
Neil's feeling it this morning.
I'm going to tell you what it's like. I'm going to use it in my field. It's like I'm working on this contract here, and I'm doing all the intricate work. And when I'm ready to get to do a little job here, a little job there, now the whole building's up, and instead of me getting a freaking building, they give it to some jerk off. That's how I feel with this whole thing. Right? I can't help it. That's the way I feel.
We're not into feelings here, Neil.
Yeah. But that's it. Neil's upset. So. I appreciate the sentiment, though, Neil. You're upset on my behalf. Go on, Neil. Sorry.
I just feel like they're calling on the wrong people. It's like you want to know what's going on. Why are you calling them?
Who's there, and who's the wrong people?
Okay, when Owen Benjamin was looking into the subject, he gets David Weiss. When Netflix was who did they get? Globebusters. Now you got Joe Rogan. Who does he pull out of the hat? What's it?
Are you saying there's a pattern here?
It seems
Nay,
so.
nay. Well, we are not in a motion and feeling business. We are the hardcore. The hardcore will always stand in the end. Everything else will fall over time.
Nice sentiment,
Do you
John.
understand? The hardcore. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that is left, and everything will fall over time. That's what I'm saying. And that will be, and in the end, it will be the hardcore. That's is the only that is standing, because through all of the evidence, through all of the arguments, through all of the nonsense, it has to go through some process, and all of the process takes time. And over time, the only thing that will stand left is the core.
Who are you talking about? And then Brian wanted to get in. I heard.
The core I am talking about. The ground. The ground.
Look around.
What I'm saying.
All right.
Johnny's
roll
saying. Johnny's just saying
what is the ground?
Around. I see a couple computer monitors and a roll top desk.
Don't make me silly. I know you're intelligent. You can
make you
easily
silly.
make me silly.
Okay.
Yeah. But you don't have to. Because
Brian, go ahead.
Because I'm on your side, and you don't have to be afraid with me.
What?
You should use your energy about this.
I can't understand a word you say.
Monsters
so I don't know
around. I'm not the monster.
Brian, just bulldoze your way in, Brian.
Yeah. Johnny, don't worry about it. QE can't understand you anyway. Thanks. I like the sentiment, though, Johnny.
He's US. He's so American. He doesn't understand me. No, I don't think so.
What I would say about it is, I think I'd first congratulate Witsit on getting on to Joe Rogan's, because I think it's a big step forward, considering it's the biggest podcast in the world. There's nobody, even Tucker Carlson is like, even though he's kind of second to Joe Rogan, he's still not as, he's still a good bit behind him, if you understand. And Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin. So the fact that Witsit's getting on to Joe Rogan is pretty handy, I have to say. If it's true, then well done, Witsit, right? But I'd also say Witsit is more user-friendly, because Witsit is going to bring up topics that are going to be controversial, but also belief-based, right? So people on the opposing side would have an easier time arguing with it because he bring up these things. If he didn't bring up those things and just stuck to what we stick to, then the opposing side there is no conversation. But he is more user-friendly because of that.
Yeah,
so
that's why. Progress.
So that's why he's. Just 1 second, Johnny. That's why he's after getting a big following, and why, more than likely, why Joe Rogan is having him on.
And QE, he just wants everything will be like he wanted to be. Everybody wants that, but QE really wants. He did not listen to anything or not. He doesn't want to give anybody chance or time to go through anything, because he's sick and tired of this. Yes, you are sick and tired of this talking shit. All
right, Nathan. Nathan, translate Johnny, because I can't understand him either. You seem to understand every word he says.
I'm not his translator. I was listening. I thought it was all right.
I was just saying that I understand QE. He don't have any time to wait for people or any progress. He just wanted everything through, and the knowledge just now today, and punch it down. Take everybody down, and everybody should understand that. It's clear for him. He have no time for any progress because he's getting old and he wants to see something happening before everything is over for him. He doesn't have any time. That's I understand.
What the hell was that?
I say you're getting old and you're running out of time, so you need to do something.
I'm
And
getting
you can't
old.
be listening to nonsense because you're running out of time, so you don't have the time to listen to nonsense.
Is that what he said?
Pretty much, I think.
Yes.
I don't have time to suffer fools. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, because you're getting older, John. I'm talking about QE. Yeah, there's so many John. John is in the house. So yeah, I have to say QE. Yeah, you're getting old, QE. There's no time for this.
Gee, thanks, Johnny.
Well, thanks, Captain Obvious.
He really boosts the fella's confidence.
It's absolutely obvious.
Is this going to be another intervention?
An ether intervention?
Oh, I don't need any intervention. I'm the good guy. Don't
Johnny.
take it on me.
Johnny, how much have you drunk today, Johnny?
Now, don't ask questions that I don't answer.
It's time for another intervention. Johnny, we care about you, Johnny, and we know it's a law of nature that sailors drink.
In the interest of balance,
No,
I don't care.
I'm okay.
Knock yourself out. Do what you like.
Drink quite as much as you want. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Irish guys, I was telling them after my mother passed, my father was drinking a freaking big bottle of vodka a day. And I'm on a job site and I'm explaining it to them. And the Irish guy goes, good for him. I said, what do you mean good for him? He's drinking almost a gallon of vodka a day. The way he said it, though, it was funny. Good for him.
You can drink a lot of vodka, though, if you just drink vodka. I remember going out in Russia, and one of the reps, who was a Scottish guy for a cable company, we were at the bar before we go out for this meal, and he stopped me from having a beer, and he's like, no, don't drink anything. Literally nothing. Just drink what they put in front of you, because you're going to be getting absolutely hammered. But if you want to wake up tomorrow not half dead, just drink the vodka that they bring. So we go to the meal, and they lay out, and there's probably 30, 35 people there on this massive long table. And they're laying out 20 maybe bottles of vodka between us all. So you can imagine we're all drinking a lot of vodka. And sure enough, the Scottish guy was right. You know, so long as you stick to just vodka, you can actually consume quite a huge quantity of it and still wake up the following day and go, all right, I actually feel fairly functional. Stink of vinegar, but
I thought that was Scotch.
Maybe it's true with Scotch too, but I've never done that. It's just in Russia, to be polite to the people that I was trying to do business with, you kind of have to do as they do. You know, if you're in China, you're eating, 1,000-year-old eggs and stuff because it's their delicacy, in spite of it being absolutely disgusting. But you numb it down and say, thank you so much. Beautiful. Well, if you're in Russia, you're drinking a lot of vodka. And they do. So one of the things, I'm a fairly heavy smoker, so one of the things I do when I arrive in a country, or did, was find the local kiosk and buy cigarettes, because you can buy them much cheaper than you can in England. And I was queuing up at 6 in the morning, having arrived in Russia, and what I'm queuing up for there is this kiosk to get my cigarettes. But also in the queue for the kiosk that sells the newspaper, cigarettes, and vodka are the people who just want their vodka at 6 a.m. And as soon as the kiosk opens, they get their litre of vodka and off they go. Start drinking it immediately. And you're like, that's just the culture there. That's what they're like.
Yeah,
Maybe
fuck it.
he stopped you because if you drink beer first, he knows they're going to lay out a bunch of vodka. I always was told that if you mix, that's when you get a hangover and you get sick.
Yeah, well,
Fuck
that's
it, it's a
exactly right.
dangerous drink.
It was my first time in Russia in that particular instance, and you just, you tend to, oh right, you're from Atlas up in Scotland. Oh, brilliant, right? Well, we'll hang around together then, so we're just not one rep in a foreign country trying to flag our wares. We're both flogging the same product. He's selling cables, I'm selling electronics. So it was useful to just sit with him and chat with him, and yeah, he filled me in about 20 minutes, half an hour when we go to this meal. We are going to be consuming an absolute shed ton of vodka. Now, at that particular moment, I didn't know that when I'm just sat at the bar waiting to go for a meal. But yeah, 6 hours into drinking vodka non-stop, you go, yeah, I'm glad I didn't drink that beer, and I'm glad I didn't, consume a load of whatever beforehand.
They say that it's more difficult to process brown something spirituous like cognac, whiskey, or something for your kidneys and so on and so on. So, and you also get more hangover. And think about it. Yes, that's true. But if you drink too much of beer, then you mess up the whole system, your stomach, and so on and so on. So everything has some difficulties. But vodka is just running through like water. Yeah.
Sure. But I don't drink. I didn't drink then. You normally drinking out of necessity for work, which is to say that you're at a bar doing business, and it's kind of expected of you to drink. But outside of work, I didn't drink. I'm still like that. I don't drink. I don't have drink in the house. I'm not a drinker. So when I was in those circumstances, I'm sure I would have said to him, "Look, I don't even drink." He's like, "Well, you are tonight. You're going to be drinking a lot of vodka," and you're like, "Okay, fine." In other words, it's not that I refuse to. Like, I'll stand on my moral high point of being a teetotaler. No, if the circumstances call for it, and I've got to drink alcohol, I will. But it's not like something that a lot of people just partake in all the time, like it's on their shopping list. Whereas for me, it isn't.
Anyway, you should never drink more than you can handle. That's the rule. You can take, but just drink too much. Just a little bit.
Indeed.
And
I don't know how we've got onto this subject. Drunk with JTolan media nonsense.
Yeah, it's okay to talk about something else just a little bit. That's all.
Hello, Adam. Did you get my
Hey,
message?
Nathan, you mind if I jump in?
I do. I just want to check if Adam's around because I asked him to have a look at a very specific video. We did cover it on the live show, but hey, Adam.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
I remember it a year ago. It's an old one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to the point. There's fine. If you're going to assume physicality, then you can calculate it like that. Interesting, he comes out with the approximate R value. But in terms of what he's doing, yeah,
hold on, Johnny.
It's fine.
Go ahead.
It seems like surveying and standard what he's doing. I don't see anything wrong with it, other than the inference of doing it on stars. But I suppose if you work with that, then that's the number you come out with, which is not surprising.
Yeah, exactly. I knew what to look for too. So as soon as I found that video and saw the title, I was like, okay, I'll spin through this and find the moment that I need. And that's what I came to, that 11:55 timestamp that I sent you. Because I'm like, as soon as I can find the bit where he does everything perfectly fine in a terrestrial fashion with these triangles, with the mountain, perfectly legit, like you've already validated. I'm glad you've said it. But no, you can't then use that principle on the stars, but he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what it means, I don't know. You've got to accept that premise. If you use that methodology on the stars, this is the number you come out with. Now, lovely. The only reason that anybody's got an objection to it is if you believe in a heliocentric ball model. Yeah, then that number has a real issue for you. But as a flat earther, cool, can't validate it, can't prove it. Nice that you put it there. Moving on.
Exactly.
Don't do it with it.
It doesn't have any consequences to me as a flat Earth, because what I then should have done this in the live show when we were going through the video, right? Let's bring it back up. That particular video that we're talking about now. When he's doing the angles, I'm like, everything he's doing in the process, regardless of his extrapolation with the stars, which is invalid. Regardless, everything he's doing in his method is the same method. Let's just bring it up on screen. As anybody would do this method with, globe Earth believer or flat earther, and it requires Earth be flat for this baseline that I've got on screen from him now. I know you can't see it, but to have the flat baseline in the first instance, Earth must be flat. So for me, when you're making these extrapolations, it's like, why hasn't he drawn a line under this and shown that in all instances to do this methodology, which everyone would approve of, it's got to be flat? But he doesn't. He focuses on a height to the stars instead of the flat Earth methodology used for the measurement, and then comes up with a false outcome in terms of the height of the stars or the dome as he's trying to extrapolate. Why not just focus on the way that the methodology requires you to measure either a terrestrial object, in that case mountain, or the use of parallel planes with the celestial navigation and flat baseline? In both instances, you just flat out carte blanche proving Earth's flat. But maybe that's not his motivation. That's why perhaps I covered him today on the live show. Anyway, that's it. That's my ramble.
But I really want to talk about with you about the orbitation, the radius. What is the radius? We are always talking about radius like a real thing, and we are doing that if you think about it all the time. What the radius has to be, this and that, and we're also talking about the degree, and we have to take in if you with navigation every degree.
Yeah, we do. It's just the minimum. It's just the minimum to Polaris. That's it. Minimum inferred angle to Polaris. In other words, you can't say the actual measured angle at 0, but the point that it reaches 0 when you're working out from 1 degree declination for every 60 nautical miles. That's what you're working out to the equator where it reaches 0. The measurement of Polaris, that is. That's your radial value.
Okay. That's the problem now, because the Polaris is not moving. It's just a stationary point above.
Yeah, so that's why it's useful.
So that's yes, therefore we could say that everything is revolving around the Polaris, and that's the middle of the Earth, and therefore the Earth is stationary, and also geographically in so-called universe, it is in the center of the universe. So far we can see, so far we can know, it is absolutely center there.
No, I don't accept that at all. To say, because we've got a Polaris-centric mapping system that is useful for having a central point, and yeah, by our observation, the stars do rotate about that point. That is self-evident. But does that mean that it's the center of the universe? Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, but the known. I'm saying we don't have to talk about it. But if they really have to take us into it, then we can say the Polaris is the center, and therefore it is the center because everything is revolving around the starting point.
No, just the stars. No, the stars are revolving around Polaris, and that's as far as my statement would go in terms of certainty and fact, because that's all you can say, because it's self-evident. But beyond that, our position in the universe, you will never be able to connect that to Polaris and a Polaris-centric system. If you're going to dictate to me that simply because we use a system that has Polaris at its center with the stars moving around it means that is the center of anything beyond that which you've just described, I would object to. Because you can't extrapolate out anything beyond what you've actually seen and is self-evident in terms of Polaris being stationary and the stars moving around it. Now, that's useful if you can track their positions above the ground, and that's it.
No, I have to point out you forget to take in the sun radius. That is the radius that everybody's talking about. That is the limit that we are getting. That is how far the ability that we can go and live. That is the sun
it's just
radius.
the limit of what we can see Polaris. The extrapolation of
Yeah,
radial
but that is
values.
in the middle. That is in the middle. Oh, that is
Yeah, but
north.
but the extrapolation into a radial value used by Copernicus doesn't mean anything other than what you can infer in actual reality and measurement. That's all it can give me. Now, when people talk about the CMB or Polaris as a central position, yeah, you can describe what you've observed from the cosmic microwave background radiation from a single point and describe that as the center point. So what? That doesn't infer that we're the center of anything. It's the central point for your description of the CMB or your central point for Polaris. It can only be what it actually is. But to these sudden extrapolations out into the greater worldwide universe as we know it in the vastness of the cosmos, that's bollocks. I don't accept any of that.
I'm not thinking like that. I'm just saying in the world that I know of, it is my center point. So I don't have to talk about anything else. I don't care.
It just is a center point for the stars. But that's all it is.
It's a center point for the sun radius also.
Radius of what?
It's a radius of a circle, man.
Pattern radius.
There is no radius. We're extrapolating out these values from measuring these points in the stars.
It's going in and out, in and out, in and out, south to north, south to north. That is the season.
Yeah. So that's what you're describing for the sun. So what?
Yeah, that is how far can the sun go? That is the radius of our life.
Yeah.
I don't have to know anything more.
Yeah, but you can't then extrapolate that into saying that the rest of the unknown universe, and this isn't an appeal to the future fallacy, based on extrapolations of what we've seen in known history. Why am I getting rumpused? Based on what we've experienced already, we've expanded out the territory and mapped the stars as we've gone. Right, that's what we know to have happened already. Right? Well, to say that you can know without doubt that the central point we call Polaris is going to be the center of everything we could ever discover, I find utterly absurd. It's just the central point for the stars that we observe to revolve around it. And that's all we can describe about it, because that's all we can see to be self-evident. There are no extrapolations beyond that. The fact that Copernicus has...
That's an appeal to the future fallacy, Nathan.
Yeah, I don't care about the infinity.
Hold on. Hello. No. I'm not trying to appeal to the future. I'm saying to say that beyond the description that you can actually give to what Polaris is and does with respect to the other stars, I will only accept a description of what is self-evident. Now, in terms of its useful nature, fine, I'll accept that too. But that doesn't automatically mean that that's the central point for everything in the known existence. I don't accept that.
I don't have any more than self-evidence. Why should you think about something that is not possible for me to reach? So I'm talking about self-evidence, and in my self-evidence world, it is absolutely so. And if something else came in, I will bring it in and understand that. But there's no possibilities. That I absolutely can see.
What about
my
the
self-evidence is telling me the Polaris is in the center. That is.
What about the sun's
We got that. Thank you.
The sun's movement is from east to west. What about that?
The movement that's just a circle. You know what I mean? That is a circle.
Johnny, what about beyond the equator? How do you know that the Polaris is the center for those movements? Right? Because they are going east to west, but they seem to have another axis or some.
That's just
so
our understanding east to west is because
no, you're missing my point. So beyond the equator, we're not seeing Polaris. However, the rotation of the southern stars, obviously east to west. However, they seem to be rotating out of a different. The angles are diverging at that equator point. At least they appear to be on a time lapse. So it could be another thing is why we don't prescribe to that, right? So in that flat Earth or the Mercator map or whatever they want to associate with a flat Earth map, we would have a hard time defending things we can't it can be pulled apart, and that's probably why it's been presented, in my opinion. Now, of course, that's subjective. However, it is objective that the stars beyond the equator are doing something a little different than the ones going around Polaris and above the equator. So that's why this contention is standing right now. That's why we're not getting agreement to your claim. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of explanation for that, and I have some explanation, but I don't think nobody will get anything from me telling them.
If you understood it, you wouldn't say Polaris is the center of the universe. You wouldn't do
You're
that if
talking
you
over me. I
understood
was
it.
not finished. Sorry, I was just in the middle of the sentence. I was not finished. What I'm telling you is, I take the evidence that is happening on the ground. I can see what's happening, what the sun interaction is to the ground, and the differences. For example, with the flora and fauna and animal life and whatsoever, everything that's happening on the ground. Green grass that's not in the south, and then we get the end of it. That is because that the sun is not going any further. I'm right about that. Nobody can say anything.
Johnny is right about certain
I'm
things.
wrong.
He's right about certain things. Yeah. He's right about that. There's certain flora and fauna that doesn't grow because it's not getting the sunlight.
And if I'm right about that, then you have to take a lot of things that I'm saying very seriously. And talking about the stars, stars is maybe in other dimension. You're not seeing the star like you think it is. It can be in water. It can be there. It can be in a field or something that has to go in this direction, and you see it in a different. It doesn't matter, because the star doesn't have any direct consequences to the ground that I can take.
Well, then why would you say Polaris is the
Use
center of?
cause and effect, and I can make
Well, now you're
tests.
contradicting yourself.
But no, I'm saying that you cannot talk about stars with me, and I am the man that understand what's happening around me, and I'm talking about the ground and the effect, and therefore I'm right. The star, nobody knows really what stars are. Not
Hold
yet.
on. Give me a second. You just said that in reference to Polaris, and now you're saying that the stars can't be considered. So which one is it, please?
I'm just saying that you can use the star because they are not changing. They are always revealing in the same time and in the same manner, and that has been calculated. It has been mapped, and there's something that I say the almanac through the time. We know exactly where every prick is in every time, in every particle.
Acknowledge the contradiction you made, or somebody correct me if I'm calling this
didn't
wrong.
do any contradiction.
You said that the stars can't be considered, and then you're trying to reference Polaris.
Oh, I didn't have, because now you were talking over him.
Look, you said that the stars can't be considered, but that we're referencing Polaris. Therefore, what? Right?
No, I said respect to the ground. I said. So there's some misunderstanding there. You didn't understand. I was not talking about the star behavior. I was talking about I cannot use the star that's doing any changes to in my postcode or the ground. Sun really does it. The moon seems to do that also. So there is a differences there, and you have to take that in. And I pointed it out. And I'm talking about the flora and fauna. I'm talking about 24-hour sun.
Well, you can't take all the airtime and then complain if somebody's. When you make a point, there needs to be at that point, rather than ramble on, a point to say, hold on, wait, okay, but just taking all the airtime, Johnny, isn't the way to do this. Once you've made a claim, right? Once you've gotten to you've arrived at a position to just continue to talk, how do I address anything then? Because if you have 10 claims on the table and a whole lot of waffle, it becomes nonsense.
Yeah, because you're not grabbing. Maybe you're not so clear. That's the problem. If you're not clear, I know. But what is really your problem? What I said about the star.
I think it's the only person that's got a problem is me when I take people's extrapolations out from, okay, the stars move around Polaris. Okay, they represent positions on the ground that you can log with times. Okay, for me, that's it. That's where it ends. When people start inferring that means that the point below Polaris is the center of the universe, I'm like, what? No, it's the point below Polaris. And the other stars do rotate around that point above that zenith point that you could stand at. Not that we have. But I don't recognise that point that nobody's been to below Polaris as the central point for the known universe. Because that's an extrapolation that I just can't accept. I can accept that the stars move around Polaris and having a fixed point in the sky we call Polaris is very useful for moving around the ground. I just don't see that other than the actual positioning that you're taking from it. That can only infer what it infers, that Polaris is in a fixed position and that the stars move around it. And that's it. But
hold on, Nathan.
It
Not
could be
beyond
the
the
center of
equator,
the
right?
Earth, though.
Could it?
Can we agree that's
Exactly
not
as I was
beyond the
saying.
equator they don't go around Polaris? Can we agree to that? Is that an agreeable? Is that a statement that we could make and not be
Well, the
wrong?
other stuff doesn't go around it. Yeah, we can agree to that.
The ones beyond the equator, not just stuff, but beyond the equator.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be really specific or whatever, and I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to put something into the airwaves that's wrong. If any errors, anything I've said ever, please help, because I'm not trying to be in error.
Airwaves? What's an airwave?
Not airwave. Who said airwave?
I cannot see how we have a problem at all. I think everybody can agree the Polaris are in the middle and everything. And if you take time lapse, you can see all the stars go around the Polaris.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody's going to disagree with that.
Nobody can say it because it has been it's time lapse of it. We can see that.
I disagree. The stars that are beyond the equator will diverge angularly as they approach. So, golly, someone post an image at the equator of a time lapse. Am I wrong? I can be wrong. I don't mind.
No, you're all missing a major point. Polaris is the only thing in the sky that isn't moving. So rather than everything is going around it, the fact that it's stationary. Right? And in a way, even things south of the equator, even though that cycle south of the equator, it is still moving around Polaris because it's not stationary.
Thank you.
So that's what we should focus on, right?
Polaris is, it's because when you if you're in South America and you're looking due north at the right time of night, you'll see, right, you're going to see the stars, right? But when do you look to your east or west to see the stars if you're in South America? Will you ever look, let's just say, southwest or southeast from South America or South Africa or Australia to see the celestial pole, what they call the South Celestial Pole? Does anyone ever do that?
Nobody's answering you.
And also, you can be a gifting and through a small hole in the stone, you can see the Polaris is always there in the same point. Over thousands of years. So, what is that? That is about something. The Polaris is the middle point, and everything is revolving around, and the Earth is stationary, just like you said, Brian.
Well, other than Polaris, the only other stationary thing is Earth itself. Or other than Earth, the only other stationary thing is Polaris. Everything else is moving, with the exception of Polaris and Earth.
Yeah, they say it's just moving just a little bit. I don't care, but it's always in the same spot. Really.
Yeah, that's
So
only
I
nonsense they make
posted.
up, Johnny. That's not true.
What is it?
Polaris doesn't move. But just to extrapolate on why I asked the question earlier, I saw a bowler. Who was he? I think he was debating someone on flat sides. And he was showing directions to seeing it was a direction for people to see the Southern Cross. Now that's not the South Celestial Pole, that's the Southern Cross. But he had people in South America and South Africa looking two different directions. So one was looking east, the other was looking west, kind of stuff, or something. Yeah, I think that was it. Or they were both looking west or something. But the whole point was that would make that the way he was showing it, and this is supposed to be some kind of proof, that would make the Southern Cross to be in two completely different positions over the Earth. What I'm saying is, does the South Celestial Pole move around the outside of the North? Do the South star rotation move around the outside of the star rotation? That's a central star rotation in the North. That's what I'm asking, because that would make a lot of sense.
I was not, Brian, I was not clear what you were saying. Are you not agree with me? The Polaris is absolutely in the same spot all the time.
I do, Johnny. I've moved on to a different point.
No, I was just wondering. Yeah, I understand that. But,
it's something I've been wondering, Johnny, is that when someone in South America, Australia, or South Africa look towards the South Celestial Pole, will they always see it always due south? Or will it sometimes be not due south? Because if it's at any time not due south, that is an absolute ball destroyer over. Because the South Celestial Pole would always have to be due south no matter what. You understand what I mean?
Not really.
Well, if I'm in Australia and I'm looking at the South Celestial Pole, let's just say, and I'm looking to my west, right, southwest, and someone in South Africa is looking southeast to see the same thing. How does that work on a globe?
Yeah,
I've been thinking about this for a while.
It's impossible because I will always look in other directions from the standpoint there on.
No, if they're in the north, you take the same situation in the north, and people only ever have to look directly north, no matter where they are, to see Polaris, to see the North Celestial Pole. But when it comes to the South Celestial Pole, do people ever have to look differently from due south? Because if they do, it's over. Like, I mean, the globe could not be more over. That would be the most over point ever. I'm only basing this off of some diagrams I saw from two different bowlers. One guy on flat sides and this other guy. I think he was on flat sides, this guy, a while back, and this other guy. And the diagrams were showing a situation where the Southern Cross, which moves around the South Celestial Pole, was in two completely different places for two different people. Now, I understand it might be, there was like the direction the people had to look were wrong for us looking at the same thing. It wouldn't matter if I know it's moving around. So for one person, the direction might be slightly different than the other. But these two directions were so completely wrong. It couldn't work. And it looked like from what he was showing that the South Celestial Pole was not exactly due south for both observers. So if the Celestial Pole is ever not exactly due south for any observer in Australia, South America, or South Africa, that is the absolute unbelievable end of this argument.
Brian, the very, very great question that I will ask you is, do you understand if you have a globe, or over us, the globe, when a dome over us, you will it will split something that you are seeing in the sky somehow, right? Because of
Why are you telling me about a globe, Johnny?
refraction. No, I'm just joking. People are talking about the globe, and you are talking about the barrier, right? And the other guy here was talking about you're seeing the stars, that the time lapse of star is splitting in the equator, and you're seeing different circle in the middle of radius that I call radius of the sun, and you are seeing in the sky splitting of time lapse of the star. What's that about? Is it because it just looks like that because of the barrier or of the dome? What do you think about that, Brian?
Well, I don't want to really go into that much, Johnny. That's what I'm kind of
yes,
talking
it's
about.
very,
You're
very
listening
hard
to me.
to
I was
go
kind of talking
into,
about
but we have to do
something.
it. We have to do
Right,
it.
we get it.
We have to do it. You know what I'm talking about.
No, it don't have to do
Hey, Brian, can I ask you a question?
Ask away at Johnny, I'll let you.
What do you think?
Hey, do you guys mind if I jump in real quick?
Yes.
Sorry, I know this is really off topic, but I just got to get back to work. I was listening here, but I was the one that shared that photo with the Discord server of that backdrop. I know Nathan asked for some heritage on it. That photo was taken at Jet Propulsion's laboratories by my dad. He does abatement, and he said he has dozens of rooms that are in that building set up like that, whether it be for Mars or Jupiter or whatever. But that and that pyramid film that Nathan was asking about, it looked to be some type of transparent film that they peel in front of it and peel off. So just wanted to add that, but I'm backing out now. Thanks, guys.
So you're jumping into the chat of the Discord server or in the YouTube? Oh, the Discord server, yes. Okay, but I don't see any image. Oh, no, it's a sea foam. Okay, that is, yeah. What's that? It's a time lapse of a star that is not exactly above, but it looks like it's in front. What do you think? It looks like it's in front of you.
Hey, Brian, just quickly, in a globe Earth paradigm, if the Earth would change in the tilt, wouldn't that change location of the North Star Polaris?
Within our paradigm, no, because it doesn't tilt from one side to the other. It just holds the same tilt all year round. So it's tilted to the same in that 23.4 degrees off of what would be central. So it just holds that tilt. So at one time of the year, it's the top of it is tilted in the same direction more, and another time of year, it's kind of another time of year, the bottom of it. At one time of year, the top of it is tilted towards the sun within our paradigm, and then another time of year, then the bottom of it is tilted towards the sun within our paradigm. So it doesn't go from, it doesn't move from side to side. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah,
Where did they measure the angle?
Just look up the analema, diagrams for the analema, and it'll show you exactly. Diagrams, it'll show you exactly what I mean, yeah.
So I was just Googling.
It's
something.
Analema like an 8. 8 Analema is like an 8 pattern of
but
8.
He's asking it slightly differently. Just leave him ask the questions, Shawnee, please.
Yeah, so I was just Googling because just like wondering about it. So I was Googling globe Earth tilt change, and then it says Earth tilt has changed by 31.5 inches, 80 centimeters between 1993 and 2010.
Oh yeah, that's just mathematics they add in. They're adding in those little mathematics everywhere. It's so small you'd never notice it, but they claim it's happening. You know, this kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's just adding of globe mass because they can't have consistent cycles.
How are they measuring this tilt? It's an angle measurement, is it not? Where are they measuring that from?
Reference to a flat plane, probably.
Yeah, let me see what it says.
They're not measuring it at all. They're
says
not measuring it at all. The tilt is mathematical only. It's put in there by Kepler because to explain the sun cycle throughout the year on a globe. That's why it's not. There's no one measuring that.
What? So they just make it up?
No one measured it. No one measured it. Just imagination.
What do you want, Elder Bill? What do you want?
It is. Elder Bear is right. Elder Bear is right. It is just imagination.
Who was it in history? Who was it in history who placed? Yeah, who was it in history who placed Polaris above and gave it a ground position? Who was that? Who in history gave Polaris a ground position? Well, it's actually you did, yeah. Because the globe, they don't even have it at 90. They don't even have a 90. No, well, who did that? Who did that?
Are you saying the
You know,
stars
are you going to
directly
tell
over
us?
your head?
Yeah, in history. Who was it who placed Polaris and gave it a position that said there is a position on the Earth that it corresponds to?
Well,
Neil did it. He said he did it.
There has been people who have claimed to go to what would be directly underneath Polaris. Now we don't know if they have been, but there has been people that have claimed that.
Did they know where that was?
Yeah. I remember seeing it back in the 90s, back in the 1990s. I remember seeing it on the news, and maybe the 80s. There's been many times they've claimed to go directly underneath Polaris. I don't know if they have. I've never been there.
Yeah. So no one. And
what's the point?
Your flat Earth. Your flat Earth is also polar centric.
It's not flat earthers, it's navigators. That's how navigation is based on. You know, the ground positions.
No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this idea that there is a ground position for Polaris.
He's going to rumpus you, so I'm going to rumpus him.
Nobody's done it.
Well, Portuguese was
So the star is never directly over your
the
head,
world.
according to Elder Bear.
No.
Portuguese were navigating the world by finding their position.
Yeah, it just seems to me that you just reify globe information and then try and roll the Earth out.
It's not globe information.
And call it flat on top of
It's not globe information. Hang on, Neil. It's not globe information.
I'm just asking.
It's not globe information.
You don't know. Nobody's ever measured it.
Well, we don't know elevation angles to find the latitude.
How do you know? Hang on. How do you know?
Well, exactly.
Hang on. How do you know, Elder? You said nobody. That's a definite claim.
Yeah, well, that's what because I haven't come across anybody. Have you got the information of that?
That's what you hear.
So, no, but hang on. So you can then say that nobody has been there.
Well, how do you know it's there? How does anybody know that it exists?
The point is that I can leave the possibility open, considering we use it for navigation. I can leave that possibility open, considering we can stand underneath it. We can stand in a position when any other star is over our head at a given time.
Yeah, but you can also leave it open that there's a radius of 3959.
Why would they do that when there isn't?
Well, how do you the same about the North Pole?
What do you mean?
I mean, you imagine that when you go east or west, you're going in a circle.
If you travel east far enough, will you return back to the same position that you were originally at?
Not
You're
in my
mixing up a compass rose with the movement of the celestials.
They're perpendicular, though. The polar.
Exactly.
The,
East to west is the
That's the
cardinal.
center of the compass. That's the center of the compass
I've just
rules is
got
perpendicular.
to jump in the dentist. Hang on, I just got to jump in the dentist. So you talk amongst yourselves, and I'll think about it.
Oh yeah, you want to jump in a dentist? Maybe you should pull all your teeth out.
Well, hold on a
beat
sec.
off while you're at it.
Be nice, Neil.
Yeah, he annoys me. Hold on, Brian. He annoys me because he has an agenda, and you can hear it in his voice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but
everybody knows that.
screaming at him is not the way to solve the
trolling.
problem, Neil.
I'll freak him.
He couldn't even answer the simple
take it
question: if you
easy.
continue going
You're
east,
too,
do you continue back to the same point? He couldn't even
This
answer
show
that
is
question.
unlistenable. This show is
Exactly,
unlistenable. Everyone's
D-Rose.
over talking everyone. It's becoming
Oh,
unlistenable.
wait a second, Brian. Hold on, Brian. I understand you want to communicate with him, and fine. But he talks over everybody. Georgie was trying to give him an answer. He rumpus Georgie. Listen to this guy. Every time
You
he'll say
rumpusing
something,
him
you try to
is
get
not
an
going
answer,
to make it
and he'll
listenable.
rumpus.
More listenable. It's going to make it less listenable.
Relax,
All
relax.
I want to
Hey,
hear is
Brian.
a load of jumping. A load of people
Brian?
getting angry. A
Brian?
load of people getting... Hang on, I'm not
Only
finished
with
speaking.
him, Brian. Only
Forget
with
it.
him.
Go, off you go, off you go. This is why Nathan is not going to be on Joe Rogan's.
Only with him. Nobody else. He's got an
It
agenda.
doesn't
Why
matter
are we
who
upset?
it is. It
I don't-
doesn't
I don't-
matter who it is. That's the wrong direction to take.
True.
Right. His position that
Ben.
nobody's measured the angle from directly underneath Polaris is a point we bring up all the time. Why would we argue with him on that? Why is everyone mad?
What's that, John? What exactly is his point? According to what you think, I want to know that we're on the same page.
Well, he's still trying to build a reification in his mind based on some kind of geometry. You know, like he's trying to understand this from the only way he can. I don't think he deserved to get jumped on for that question.
No, I don't think he does. I think it's a worthy of a conversation. I mean, I don't have a problem having the conversation. I don't have a problem having a conversation, but I don't want to try to have it when people are jumping in over the top, screaming and shouting. What is the point?
I agree. Can I say something, Brian?
Hold on a second. I said it.
Neil,
all
you've
I
been
said
talking
was
enough.
he's rumpusing George. That's all I said. He's got issues with me, all right? With his little messages constantly.
Don't worry about the
Okay, you
messages.
done?
He sends me messages too. Never mind that. Just address what he's saying.
Okay. Now, I just want to bring the point of someone asked him after he made a point of saying to you, Brian, being that we assume that when you go east to west, you're going around in a circle. Then someone asked him, do you not agree that if you keep going east, you come back to the same point? He evaded that question.
Yeah,
and
you gotta go
that's
to
when all the
dentist.
chaos went through. That's when all the chaos went through. I don't care whether it's the
And
globe belief.
I agree. I agree because that is a circle. Exactly. That's your point, right? Can you say that is your point so everybody can understand?
I don't agree with that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but he is talking about it will make a circle. That's all. I think.
I think you're confusing Elder about how the compass rose works with east. Because no matter where you are, east will always be, if you go by the compass rose, it will always be perpendicular to north. But that doesn't mean that east is a perpendicular position to north. If you understand what I mean, that's just the compass rose. Because you're placing yourself at the center of that compass rose.
Yeah, and the compass rule is the middle point under the Polaris, so that is the center, and that is.
Now it's questioning that Polaris has a ground position. Yeah.
Yeah.
If Polaris wouldn't have a ground position, how would you find your latitude? You or anyone?
So there is no connection between the Polaris
It
and
wasn't
the ground.
rhetorical. If Polaris doesn't have a ground position, how do you find your latitude?
Absolutely impossible. You're absolutely right about that, George. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm in the dentist. East and west is perpendicular to each other. You go east. How could you go in a circle?
No, east and west are not perpendicular to each other. You're confusing the circle you would make with the point source derivative of the lines crossing on your compass.
You made the circle. I don't make a circle. You do.
I just pointed out that if you travel east, you will return to the same point from which you left. That is by
You
definition
don't know
going in a
that. You
circle.
don't know that.
Yeah, we
Is
do.
that,
That
is
is a
that saying?
circle.
Because you're following
Is I
David. Yeah, we do.
confused or are you all
That's correct.
confused? That is a circle. What is wrong? Can you admit it is a circle? You come together on the same point. It is. You go from one point to other point, and it will make
This
a
what the
circle.
problem is. Hang on, Johnny. The problem is, Elder Bear, what you're saying would make east a continual direction in one way only, which means that if you travel east, you would continue going in one straight line at all times. Where does that lead to?
Well, where does your world
Say for
lead
west.
you?
It's not my world. You're misunderstanding how the compass rose works.
Well, I could. It's
It's a
perpendicular.
circle.
Yeah, the compass rose, the axis of within the compass rose is perpendicular. Yes, but that doesn't. The compass rose itself, right, is a circle, but the axis is perpendicular. But that doesn't mean what you're saying. What you're saying, Elder Bear, is that east is in one direction, and we follow that direction in a straight line, and it keeps being east, right? So east is the opposite direction to west, as in two straight lines, right? Yeah.
Perpendicular, yeah.
Right, so how does that? So when we
are we
follow, hang on,
forgetting?
Johnny. So Johnny, hang on,
Okay.
Johnny. Hang on, Johnny.
But
So if we
your
follow a
perpendicular
latitude,
goes in circles.
so if we follow a latitude based off of Polaris, we'll go around in a circle. So when do we leave east and west? Because that's what you would be claiming.
I don't know. I
Okay,
don't know.
please, Brian. Now you have to listen. It is a respect to the Polaris or
Johnny, dude, aren't you here?
We are talking about the center around the center. This will make a circle. Where are you going? You need a central point. So everything is about the central point, and it will make a circle.
Just
if
so you
come
know, about Johnny was a sea navigator.
So I know what I'm talking about.
Did he ever go round? Did he ever do that? Circumnavigate?
I know how to sail, yes. So
Did you
what's the problem?
circumnavigate and go in a circle? Has anybody ever done that?
I know how to navigate.
Yeah, you can do that, Elder Bear, yeah.
I
No,
know
but
how
has
to use
anybody done that? Who has done that?
They're telling you he's a navigator.
No.
Anybody that's been in the military, the Portuguese explorers.
Look,
You don't have a proof of a ground position of Polaris, though. How do you know?
Anybody that's been in the military has flown around the world or sailed around the world.
Exactly.
You always have to take all the lines from the North Pole, the center of the ground that you are
what you're claiming, Elder Bear, is that
and the so-called radius is the sun radius. Nobody knows how the ground is, how far it can go. It doesn't matter. The known wall that we know of has been measured, and we cannot measure it any wider because we just have the sun radius, sun pattern.
So hang on, one second, Johnny. One
the
second.
sun is
One
going
second,
around the center.
Yeah, okay. Johnny, 1 second. 1 second. Elder Bear, if I'm in Ireland, right? If I'm in Ireland and I move due south using Polaris, right? I will go in a straight line away from Polaris. If someone's in the United States and does the same thing, they will go in a straight line away from what would be, let's just say, the point underneath Polaris on the Earth, right? So if both of those people do that, what you're saying, if east is only perpendicular to north, then that would mean there's more than one Polaris. There's a new Polaris for every position on the Earth. That's what you're claiming.
Oh, good point.
That's because you fix it to the center. It's your center.
No,
And that's your
this is your
model.
claim. I'm going off of what you're claiming, Elderbear. I'm
I go
extrapolating
east,
out
I go
based off of
east,
what you're
I go
claiming.
west, I
Because
go...
what you're claiming makes what I just said there impossible. Unless there's more than one Polaris. So is there more than one Polaris?
Neil, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say now. You're a
Johnny,
civil guy.
will you please leave Elderbear answer?
Oh, because you want to be in the center all the time.
No,
Yes, I understand.
Johnny, just let him finish. Let Brian finish with Edibad. Then you can jump in. Let him answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I really am in the dentist. I just got to zip in there in a minute.
Yeah, but I asked you a simple question. Is there more than one Polaris?
I know
As
that
you
north.
confirm.
I know that north and south and east and west are perpendicular to each other.
The answer would be
You
yes or
don't.
no.
You don't know
The
that.
I
That's the
answer would be
point.
I
yes or
don't
What
no.
you just
imagine.
said there is you're
Hang
claiming
on.
there's more than one Polaris.
No, I'm not. I
You're
don't
literally
imagine.
claiming
I
there's
go
more
in
than
a
one
circle.
Polaris.
No. I don't know what it is or where it goes from
Yeah,
there.
but it doesn't matter. You're claiming there's
You
more than
imagine.
one.
You want me to imagine what you imagine, and I don't.
No, I'm not
That's
asking
the
you to
difference.
imagine anything.
You don't imagine.
What I'm doing is I am extrapolating out based off of what you're saying. I'm trying to have a conversation with you, and you're trying to be awkward about it.
Well, I just don't see it as centric. That's all.
He gave you a scenario. Edibad, he gave you a scenario. And in that scenario, your claim is saying that there's more than one Polaris. Is he yes or no?
Evasiveness.
I never claimed that.
Yeah, he's not. See what I'm saying, Brian? He's disingenuous.
No, but he doesn't understand what he's claiming. That's the problem. He thinks Elderbear is misunderstanding how the compass rose works. Because he's been told the compass rose works in a certain way, and that's reality. And that's not the case. I've heard this before. It's not the first time I've heard it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. It's like a declaration, and then we have a true north, and then you have something else. There is something right about that.
That's a lot of
The
globe
magnetic field is always changing all the time, and we have to change just a little bit. But it's not so much. In some areas, it's not changing at all. So sometimes you have to make some direction changes because of that. But it's all fucking scam about how we are navigating.
Johnny, no swearing, Johnny. Come on, you know now. Every time you swear, we're gonna hold you to task.
Did I really? I don't know. I have to find some other word to. What? You're not the best man either. What's wrong with you?
Stop swearing.
I didn't say anything. I was not swearing at all. Anyways, I'm just talking about. There are something that you have to take in compass. There is magnetic field and so on. Yeah, you can make some corrections, but it will anyways give you almost the right direction. And do you know there are people measuring the magnetic fields around the north because it's changing all the time in some areas.
No, it's not, Johnny. Then you're talking a heap of globe nonsense. The magnetic position of the magnetic north is not changing. That's a heap of rubbish. That's a load of globe nonsense, declination nonsense.
No, yes, I know, yes. The declaration is bullshit, yes. But we have changes in the magnetic field.
Really, who measures this? Who measures this and can prove it? You're making a claim there. Who measures and can prove that the North Magnetic Pole changes?
I have been in the North.
Because I could find nothing, Johnny, in 9 years to support that.
I've been with people that's measuring that. That's no fiction. It's not a fiction.
That is fiction,
but the
Johnny.
declaration, the fix-it declaration is a fiction also. Yes, that is just to fix the globe narrative. Yes, you're right about that. But in the same time, there is something that you have to take in. The magnetic field have some differences.
That's a contradiction, Johnny. It is or it
No,
isn't.
it isn't. Because we are talking
There
about
isn't any
absolutely
change
not.
to
We are not
magnetic
talking
north.
about the
It's
same
always the
thing.
same place.
We
It
are talking
doesn't
about
move.
something else.
That's a load of rubbish, Johnny.
The
Magnetic north does
declaration is
not
a
move. That's a
lie,
load of globe nonsense.
but magnetic field is the truth. That is differences. So I am not contradicting myself. There's a lot of things that we have to take in. We have to know about all of these issues before we go out full shattered like an eagle flying against the enemy.
So is there a change or isn't there a change?
There are, so in some areas there are a lot of activity of magnetic action that will change the compass reading and so on. Yes, that's true. But I'm not talking about the declaration. That's made up thing. So you think that is the same thing I'm talking about? No, I am. I'm not.
Well, what are you talking about then?
He's claiming that magnetic north moves around, and I'm calling BS
Yes.
on that.
It's changing sometimes over years. It can change, and then it can come back to some other. But we are not talking about big changes, but there are changes anyways.
Wait a second. You're saying we're not talking about changes, but there are changes anyway. I'm all confused, Johnny.
No, I'm talking about it's flexible. It is a dynamic. We are living in a dynamic system, right? Think about it.
Yes, that I know. We all know that. Yes. So what's your point?
Okay. Then it should not be a question either. Because I am not talking about the declaration. So that's just to fix the globe paradigm navigation. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the magnetic field in this area and most around the north that is changing from time to time. And therefore, we have a lot of people that's all the time measuring and have sensor and everything to give always the right data. And also, therefore, we get this right data in the almanac, the book that you use. So you can correct after it. There you have it. There's a lot of knowledge that you have to get in if you really want to get into this area.
Anybody want to translate that?
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about declaration. I'm talking about the magnetic fields that we have to demonstrate and we have to measure all the time because there's changing all the time. And there's a lot of differences what's happening in the geographic area. There's a lot of changes what's happening with fish in the ocean and how the animal and whales or whatsoever. It's, if we know more about it, then we know what's happening. That's all I'm saying. You guys have to take in all aspects of knowledge that you are able to take in. That's all I'm saying. You think I am saying something against myself? No, I am not. I'm just talking about there's a lot of things that is
Johnny,
real.
the magnetic
in
declination
the same
claim
place
comes
a
from
lot
the
of things
claim
is
that
not real.
the North Magnetic Pole is moving around.
We have magnetic fields that's going around and most in the north there's most activity, and you have the aurora, you have the northern star with with all of the activity in the north that you don't have in the circle of equator. It's not happening in the equator because the activity of the magnetic field is not there. It's more like around the North Pole, and therefore also you have therefore you have compass is reaching to the north all the time. It's because it's magnetic. Why do you think it is?
So a
Why
magnetic
do you think
compass
we
is
call it
magnetic. That's
magnetic?
what we're after just getting out of you, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm talking about that. Sometimes it's changing. We can change reading of compounds over time, but I'm just saying it's not so much. Sometimes it's quite much. All the time, it go back to the state that was for 1 year ago. 1 year is just a little bit too much, or this degree, and the other year is more like other degrees because it's flecting, it's going around, it's a dynamic system.
Johnny, changes in the field, in the fluctuations in the magnetic field when you're close to north, as you would have been, right, considering where you're living, right, does not mean that the magnetic pole itself or the magnetic point itself is moving around.
How do you know that?
The field might have some small changes, but that doesn't, like all fields, but that doesn't mean that the magnetic pole itself is moving around. Because if you look in, I looked at it only 2 or 3 years ago. They were trying to tell me again for the second time, I think it was, and they were trying to say that it was over on the coast of Siberia. What a load of rubbish!
Really? Maybe it wasn't. Why do you think it was rubbish?
Because the magnetic pole, right, is not on the coast of Siberia this year and then off over somewhere else next year. It's not moving around. The magnetic pole is not moving around. The field might have fluctuations, but the pole itself, the point itself, is not changing. The fluctuations, maybe. There can be fluctuations. I wouldn't say there wouldn't be.
Aurora, the fluctuation of aurora is a very, very big area, and it also can reach over Siberia. Siberia is very, very close to north. You know that? Right? So what's the problem?
You said Siberia?
Yeah, it's close to north, Johnny, but it's not. It's close to north, yeah. But I'm not talking about what's close. I'm talking about the claim that the magnetic pole itself is moving around. There, in 2019, it was at the coast of Siberia, right? And now it's in some other place. No, it's not.
You're talking like it's a pool. It's just like, you think of the pool is just a like a pin hole somewhere directly there, and nobody else. Nobody really knows what pool is and how big fluctuation of so-called pool is, and where this connection from the sky and the ground, how it's really up there. We don't know that really. So you are talking like a bowler that you think you know everything about everything. You're not better than.
Nah, you're talking like a baller.
That's funny. Brian does a lot of research, Johnny. Brian just don't talk out of his ass.
I'm holding on to task. I'm holding his feet to fire, and he really maybe have to think about it. What I'm telling him or how I'm talking to him.
I'm sure you've made a mad impact on his day.
Maybe. Because I only hope he will be better and better, because I have nothing against Brian. Maybe I'm almost a fan, I have to say.
I think we should raise a statue in your honor.
Yeah. But he has to keep on have some progress and understanding. And if he's go out of the race, then I'm the first man to take them in, and haul this heat to the fire.
Okay, then. But did you want to add anything to the end of this, Brian? If not, I'm going to round out.
No, Nathan, thank you.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!